yours, but still in me. I cannot detox from this condition, conviction. You're inside my misery box. I'm still never free from this addiction, affliction. Now it's yours, but still in me. Cannot detox from this condition, conviction. You're inside my misery box. I don't deserve you. You stay true. I want to save you from my misery. You couldn't save me from my misery. I'm addicted to my misery box. Addicted to my misery box.
5 members of the prominent Rhineswan family were found dead. Investigators believe the killer may be the same individual the media has dubbed the Red Crier.
Oh, yes, Best Chat. Welcome back. Hello to you once again, Best Chat, of another episode of Delicious, Malicious Morning Nonsense Chat. Welcome back. We had a wonderful day yesterday. Hope tax season hasn't gotten you too down this evening or this morning, whatever it might be for you today, chat. Hello to Book Column. Hello to you. Good morning. Hello to you, Book Column Batista says, good morning, LD and Best Chat. Well, good morning to you, Carlos Batista. Good morning to you, indeed. God Vampire Cards says, what does One Piece need defending for? I don't know. We're going to find out today. We're going to check it out because apparently it's gotten to a point where this one guy can't really defend it anymore. So we're going to check it out, chat. Charming Bot says, good morning, everyone. The Pred Pack is back. I can't believe Johnny Somali and EDP came back to YouTube. Yet the actor for Jason is Mighty Morphin can't come back in any future Power Rangers. Like, wait a minute. What happened to that guy? I don't think I heard that one. I do know that Johnny Somali got hit with a very, very unfortunate tag, we'll say. But I do know who EDP is. But what happened to Jason the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? I don't know. I haven't heard that story yet. Gunblade Knights says, good morning, LD and Best Chat. Been reading a manga about a bunch of girls wanting to be tamed by the MC. That's about right. That makes sense. That's pretty manga-ish. Morning, folks, is a tourist attacking One Piece again? I don't know. We'll see. Suffering is supposed to build character, but this hacks missed the last part. We'll check it out. Gorilla Mar says, good morning, everyone. Don't forget to get your workouts in today. Hello to you, Gorilla Mar. Good morning, and absolutely essential. Hello to you both. Get your coffee. Caden Cater says, good morning, let them and all. Hello to you, Caden Cater, and welcome. Shadowbangtronics says, good morning, all. Good morning to Shadowbangtronics. Hopefully there won't be any glitches. Hopefully not. On my end, I can actually enjoy the show and chat. I mean, that would be ideal. As Dr. Christmas says, I'm trying to use Twitter, but I don't get it. Is it just doom scrolling? More or less, yeah. It's what it mostly is. Unless you have an eye to pick out like some good tweets to show off, then it works a lot better. Let's see, chat. Abragioni. Hello to Abragioni. He says, good morning, all. Good morning to Abragioni. Hello to Davina Duckworth. Good morning. Let's see here, chat. Fennel Nish says, good morning, LD. What horrors beyond our comprehension is in store for us today? We're going to see. Introspective Him says, good morning, LD and chat. Happy Thursday, the day of the week most famous for its proximity to Friday. Then, of course, its proximity to Weeb Day. The Delta Bum says, EDP loves some cupcakes. Surely does. Just over here getting some I was going to go over here to this random apartment. Gonna get some cupcakes. Oh yeah, is that right, EDP? You're gonna get some cupcakes at this random apartment? That's kind of weird. You think you'd go to a bakery for that, not some random rundown low income apartment. That's kind of weird. Nora Bet says Cora stands. They're out there on they are. They're really for some reason there's like a big contingent of people out there who think that One Piece is woke and Avatar: Last Airbender is woke. I mean, they're both good, so therefore they cannot be woke. Woke is just awful. You can't really be woke and good at the same time. It's like almost impossible. It's a Megathon says, good morning. Hello to you. Megalithon, welcome. All right, chat. We got some fun to go over today. Let's see. All right, could bring us up here. I think we should get started with this, the big one, which is why I can't defend One Piece anymore. So let's check it out. You'll help me out here, chat. See what if what he's saying is true or not. Check it out.
Listen up, because I have something important to tell you. Let me start off by saying this. If you like One Piece, good for you. I don't care. I used to like One Piece too. This is not a video where I'm going to tell you guys that you're wrong for enjoying One Piece. This is not a video where I'm going to try to tell you to stop reading or watching the series. This is a video about why I personally decided to step away from the series. And before anybody tries to pull the, oh, you were never a real fan bullshit, no, I was a real fan. You're
all right, let's check it out then.
Talking to the same guy who made the Jolly Roger ranking video, okay? I'm the same guy whose YouTube channel started off as a One Piece centered channel. My old YouTube profile picture was literally a wanted poster from the One Piece series, okay? My first video ever to preference this was on Gecko Moria. Who the fuck cares about Gecko Moria? Well, apparently I did. I loved One Piece at one point, and I genuinely loved digging into its expansive world. Your boy even ended up going to Japan. I entered the Shonen Jump shop, and I went out of my way to purposely get myself measured next to the One Piece characters. Turns out I'm slightly taller than Zoro. I say all of this to preference that these are the words of somebody who genuinely loved One Piece at one point. This isn't ignorance, it's not bandwagon hate, so don't tell me that I never cared about the series. Don't tell me that I'm not a fan. You guys can go tweak out and cry about it in the comments section. And hey, if you guys are going to leave death threats, try to at least make them creative, alright? Also, before anybody says, you didn't understand the story, Shane, I understood it just fine. You people are the reason why this intro is about 5 minutes long. Saying I didn't understand One Piece is an easy way to avoid engaging with criticism. I understood the story, I just stopped being impressed by it. And to be very clear, there was a lot that I did enjoy about One Piece. I liked the world, I liked the expansive universe, I liked the sense of adventure, and I was never even turned off by the weird character designs. I actually liked how One Piece looked. The over-exaggerated proportions, the goofy faces, even the fucking cartoon logic. And yes, I am fully aware that characters like Nami and Robin have toothpick waists and breasts the size of basketballs. That's not what broke me, okay? If that was...
Shouldn't that be like a positive? I mean, it's pretty... why like this okay, let me go ahead and get my virtue signaling in. This would be like a positive, right? It should be like, what's wrong with this?
What broke me, okay? If that was my sole problem, I would have tapped out.
Sole problem, I mean, so it is a problem. It is so you have One Piece has all these weird jack dudes and all this, like all kinds of weird looking guys, but Nami having a like thick toothpick thin waist and big boobs, that's a problem. Why is that a problem? Why is that a problem? And none of the other guys in One Piece, the guys, the males, having so weird proportions to their bodies sometimes. Why is that not a problem? Why is everyone complaining about the same exact shit every single time? It's always this cringe.
Thousands of chapters ago. And so then the obvious question becomes, Shane, what really changed for you? That's right, I hear all of you in my comment section screaming, but Shane, what did One Piece do to you? And my answer in return, nothing. Yeah, you guys...
Nani? All right, chat. Just a little reminder here that we are just... we're pretty close. We're about to $73 away from well, first of all, Pillarman for the day, and most of all, finishing off Amazing Digital Circus, including the last episode they're going to bring back out in, I think, June or July. So we're going to this also pays for that as well. But next stream, if we should reach $400 by the end of this stream, we will not only unlock Amazing Digital Circus and Pillarman, but also if we reach Pillarman tomorrow for Weeb Day, we'll unlock an extra stream additional to that. We'll see what the chat of tomorrow will have to say about what we cover.
Call me Horty Jones because my answer is nothing. Nothing changed, and that's the problem for me. The story never evolved in a meaningful way for me. Heartbreaking, I know. And this is where we begin section 1, the stagnation of One Piece, in my opinion. In my opinion, the structure hasn't changed, and the outcomes certainly haven't changed. Whether you watch or read this story, you will soon come to realize that it is the same sequence of events unfolding over and over and over again. And after long enough, that repetition doesn't feel comforting. It feels stagnant like pond scum. And here's the loop. The Straw Hats arrive at a new island. The Straw Hats come face to face with quirky culture. Get it? Because the dog is extra long, and the island name is Long Ring Longland Island, or whatever the fuck it is. But this aside, more often than not, the Straw Hats will encounter funny locals and have strange rules on these islands. But something's...
So, is this true, chat? Does One Piece have the same rule structure as Star Trek? Except instead of planets, it's islands. It's Star Trek right there.
Wrong. There's an oppressive ruler, a tyrant, a real pirate, a god, perhaps a sea creature that needs to be dealt with. But then we meet a new character. Go ahead and cue the tragic flashback and the same sad music used for every sequence, but it should be stated that One Piece delivers us a plethora of themes.
I don't know. I mean, as far as I can tell, anime sad music is pretty universal. It's pretty good. Usually if a show has their sad song down, it stays pretty awesome. Like, it's a pretty good sad song. Like, I like the Yu Hakusho one. I even like the Naruto one. They always use the same sad song whenever something dramatic happens in Naruto, but it's pretty good. Like, I think it's okay that he uses it every single time. Usually pretty good. It's a Kaze Dreamer says, I haven't watched enough Star Trek to say. I mean, that's definitely Star Trek. The whole every week. I mean, it's TNG, and it's like a old school Star Trek, the original series. It's like that, but not so much DS9, because that's mainly about the Dominion War, apart from maybe the first season. Because after the first season, we're kind of leading up into the Dominion War a little bit. But that's a typical formula for Star Trek. But the thing, what he made it seem like when One Piece is that's the Star Trek formula, right? That's the Star Trek formula. It's you arrive at a new place. It's got its own rules. Some crazy conflict is there, but it's just the islands instead of planets. And yeah, no prime directive. It's Shaving Charlie says it's like J.K. Rowling versus the left. I guess so. I get you more left in best chat. Today is 416 day. Everyone gives celebration to Klakai. If you know what I'm referring to, good on you. I have no idea. Is it a One Piece thing? I'm not really sure. The Introspective says, I haven't watched much of the One Piece anime, but it's clearly an ongoing series, like American comics. The story isn't about a start, middle, end, but the characters going on endless adventures. I think that's kind of what the idea is supposed to be. I can kind of see it getting a little repetitive, but I don't. But the whole thing, we go onto an island, we encounter some weird rules. Maybe there's a tyrant there. It seemed like a story engine rather than something that's supposed to be completely different every time. But I can see why you might actually get tired of it. I'm not really sure.
Dead parents, slavery, hunger, trauma. And let me be very clear here. I'm not trying to make a caricature out of any of these themes. These are serious subjects, and for the most part, I believe that One Piece actually handles these maturely and effectively. That's not the problem. That's never been my problem. My problem is the resolution is always the same. No matter how complex or horrific the situation is, it ultimately relies on Luffy between bites of meat and stretching his arms, punching the problem in the face. Different trauma, different setting, same solution. And I shit you not, this happens every single time. The island is saved, everyone cries, everyone parties, the Straw Hats leave, and then they do it again, and again, and again. And eventually, I wasn't even asking what would happen. I was only wondering when the sad backstory would start. I transformed into fortune teller Baba. And so when I would go to watch the anime adaptation of One Piece, there was no suspense for me. I mean, this shit was literally muscle memory for your boy. And this repetition becomes impossible to ignore when you notice how specific this trope becomes. Before anybody jumps to the comments, well, let's be real, I'm sure you guys are already in the comments section, but I want to be very clear about what I'm doing here. I'm not trying to say that every single chapter of One Piece is the same. I'm not talking about the travel arcs, the gag arcs, or even just the short transitions. I'm talking about the major narrative arcs that contain villains, stakes, and are supposed to have emotional payoffs with consequences. And so after...
And usually have a pretty good structure there. I assume One Piece did this pretty well, considering it's so long and still has so much popularity.
My years of watching One Piece, I created this list. Because when you strip away the names, powers, locations, and hype, One Piece relies on a very consistent narrative structure. This is the formula that the vast majority of One Piece arcs follow, sometimes perfectly, perhaps maybe missing a variable or two at most. The Straw Hats arrive at a new island. Someone important needs their protection. A traumatic backstory.
Yeah, I don't see how that's wrong. I guess like, maybe he personally got tired of it. But that seems to be a pretty consistent thing you go with. It's like, especially do with like an ongoing series. Like Conan the Barbarian had that. It's like every single story is Conan finds some new ruins or something like that to explore, monsters to fight, and a lady to save. That's the usual typical formula that got him published in Weird Tales magazine. Were they all like that? Not necessarily, but a lot of them were.
Story reframes the injustice. A corrupt authority is revealed. A larger power structure escalates the said conflict. There's a countdown to the disaster. Luffy clashes with a powerful authority figure, the crew leaves, and then the world reacts after the fact. Now, this isn't just my opinion, this is a clear pattern that occurs time after time, and we should talk about where it applies. Looking back to the East Blue of what I would consider to be the prototype here, we can already see that the foundation is in place, with arcs like Shellstown, Orangetown, Syrup Village, the Baratier, Arlong Park. You have many of these same variables with the oppressed locals, the flashback trauma, tyrant authority, Luffy intervenes, and then the crew moves on. So you can clearly see that
And I assume something to destroy the island or something. I was going to see what happens. And apparently they start restoring monarchies left and right. It's the Will Studio says this dude just grew up with the fact that a cartoon like One Piece gave you such emotional highs and lows is impressive, but now you expect too much from it. It's a cartoon show. It's also the fact that the very familiar story structure allows them to put more complexity in what you encounter. So you like the really interesting, simple blanket story structure. Then you spend less time, less effort, kind of building a new story up, and then boom, you encounter something new on the island, and it's really interesting. It's a little more complex. So basically, that's where the uniqueness of the story comes from. You can do that because of the familiarity of the story structure, and like, oh, it's a new island, new event. I can kind of see the frustration a little bit, I guess, because I had something similar happen to me with The Walking Dead. Where it's like, okay, The Walking Dead had a really interesting premise. We're like, okay, we're going to get together. We're going to start stay as a group. We encounter new people, kind of new areas, things like that. And then it kind of fell into a particular formula of they encounter a new paradise, and then something goes wrong, and they have to fight their way out. And encounter a new paradise, and it's the same thing over and over and over again with that. Like, it's like they got to the governor arc and decided to go, you know what? Let's just do this arc 400 more times. I'm like, in that case, I can kind of see why I got frustrated, because it wasn't just the feeling. It was like, okay, well, Walking Dead was way more than just finding a new paradise. You know, this arc was just way more than finding a new community, new paradise, and then fighting your way out of it when it inevitably turned to be weird or evil or something. Usually, you know, it was pretty cool when they did with the governor, but it was a little bit different when they kept doing it over and over and over again. Like Walking Dead can allow for a lot more than that, and they could have did at least like 2 more times. I kind of quit it to that. Let's see, but this one seems to be like this is the normal typical story structure, which is okay, new adventure, a new island. It being an island allows it to be, you know, cut off from everything else. The crew is trapped. There's no real hope for reinforcements or anything. No, there's not going to be any outside force coming in to impose its authority or to save anybody. They're kind of on their own, and it makes sense because it's like a whole world that's kind of set in water. Like the whole world is kind of mostly water and something like that. So it's pretty interesting, and I do think that you do have the a good formula there for One Piece. You have them going to islands or encountering new people on ships and stuff like that.
That has developed his foundation here, and then he tries to build upon this in the Alabasta saga, with Whiskey Peak, Drum Island, and of course Alabasta. And this is where the modern One Piece arc becomes unmistakable in my opinion. Vivi needs protection, Crocodile controls the system, there's a literal countdown bomb, the government fallout, the bounties increase, and from this point on, the structure becomes the default. With the Skypiea arc, it's the same structure with just a different coat of paint. We get both Jaya and Skypiea here, and it's a different setting with the same mechanics. We meet Konus, who of course needs the Straw Hats' help. We get Eneru acting as a false god. And then we get the historical flashback that is just reframing the injustices that are occurring. The ticking level island disaster occurring towards the end of the arc, as always. And then the crew leaves. So cosmetically, yeah, it's different because it's a sky island, but honestly, it's just structurally identical. Then we move on to Water 7 and Enies Lobby. This arc doesn't break the formula. If anything, I would say it perfects it. This is one of the best arcs in all of One Piece, in my opinion. In these arcs, Robin is the person who's in need of protection. The world government is the chief antagonist. There's a countdown, the initiation of the Buster Call. We get a massive aftermath where everybody's bounty jumps significantly. And then we move on to Thriller Bark, which is just another condensed variant of the formula. We have a contained setting, tragic backstories, Gomoria.
Wait a minute, isn't this also Nami's thing? I remember watching the one with Arlong. Right, this is I think it was Arlong, right? The Arlong thing. It was like that. That was when they encountered Nami, and then she needs to be protected. And then we got to see the backstory of how everyone else kind of like fell into the slavery pit of Arlong's men and everything. How they got under the control. How they were subjugated by the fishmen. And then they fight the bad guy. They save Nami, and then they leave. I think their bounties do go up after that. So I think it's really that was the groundwork for the main formula, I guess.
Acting as the authority figure. Luffy has to beat Moria before the sunrise countdown. Kuma representing the outside escalation. Shorter arc overall, same structure. Admittedly, the Summit War does shake things up a little bit, but mostly abides by the formula. Luffy ends up going to a new location. The important person that needs saving here is Ace, of course. The entire saga is a rescue mission. The whole ticking clock concept is really the execution. And of course, we definitely get dramatic flashbacks here. Ace's childhood, Luffy's bond with him, Whitebeard's idea of family, and of course, the overall authority figure here is the world government publicly executing a political prisoner to maintain order. And you could say that the larger power structure escalating the conflict here could be any of the above. The admirals, the warlords, the pacifistas. I mean, there's so many of them. And of course, Luffy clashes with these figures again and again, even when he's clearly outmatched. And then we move into the new world where this formula is reasserted at a much larger scale. The Straw Hats arrive at Fishman Island, where of course, Shirahoshi needs protection. We get the status quo traumatic flashback involving deep historical trauma between Fisher Tiger and Otohime, the involvement of Hody Jones and the new Fishman Pirates, just representing a corrupt inherited authority born out of hatred, and we get the form of the larger power structure looming through the world government and the racial hierarchy. We get the classic countdown with the Noah falling on the island. Naturally, Luffy beats Hody Jones, the crew leaves, the world reacts, and Luffy's status escalates. Then we enter Punk Hazard. Once again, we get a new island, the children need to be saved, flashbacks through Caesar's experiments. The world government and Doflamingo's henchmen escalate the conflict.
I mean, I think it's just complaining from the story structure so far. Like, so far, it's like, okay, new island, and we get, look at all this crap. This is crazy stuff. We get new characters, new conflict. I mean, is the main issue here that it's like new island, new bad guy, and that's about it every single time? I could see why you might think that's repetitive, but I mean, it's a pretty good structure. It works, and it's so familiar that we can focus on the power of the characters and everything. The new arc, the new backstory. That's where a lot of creativity comes in. I think. I don't know. It seems like Brazil pretty cool. It's in there. They build up new stuff.
Poison gas creates a literal ticking disaster. Luffy clashes with Caesar, the crew leaves, and then we go to Dressrosa. And I'm sure you guys are getting the overall theme at this point, so I'm going to try to rapid fire through the next couple of these arcs. Dressrosa, protected figures, tragic flashbacks, false king, external power shielding him, the birdcage countdown, Luffy fights Dofi, massive world reaction. Move on to Zoe, oppressed people, historical trauma, imposed authority, the Yonko escalation with Kaido's crew, the annihilation threat of Zunisha, and then the crew moves on. Whole Cake Island, Sanji needs rescuing, rescuing. We get an abusive backstory. We get more demonstrations of Yonko power from Big Mom and her crew, the countdown to the wedding, Luffy's clash with Big Mom, the escape, the global fallout. Wano, we have the oppressed nation, generational trauma, corrupt rulers like Orochi, Yonko escalation, the falling island countdown of Onigashima, Luffy fights Kaido, and then the world order shifts. Everybody reacts. The Straw Hats leave. Egghead, Vegapunk, and Bonnie need protection. Traumatic.
I do like how many bad guys have this set up, where they have this cool coat that they wear. Even some of the Marines they fight have that. And see, Kara the Token Nerd says, sorry I was late. First, it was kind of a morning that you would not throw back to the sea. And second, the cat came and laid on my chest so I couldn't get to the laptop. That makes sense. Welcome, Kara the Tolkien Nerd. Let's see. Aki Trade says, let's have. Shonen tends to reset the power scaling by at the beginning of every arc. Kind of. Yeah, just to make sure that there's going to be a challenge for the hero in that one. That's Bob says he's trying to make it sound repetitive, but he's actually making it sound really cool. Yeah, it sounds, I mean, yeah, okay, new island, new bad guy, but that seems to be working because it's a pirate show. It's a pirate cartoon. I know that he probably has some frustrations and like, oh, he kind of noticed the pattern and it kind of feels repetitive, but it doesn't really. Maybe it's because he watched so many or maybe binged so much that together it kind of felt repetitive, but it kind of feels like there's a lot of creativity and work going into the uniqueness of each of these islands. Not necessarily the story structure. Normal Man looks at the 5. Super chat. Thank you very much, Normal Man. I think the first super chat of the day. Yes, it is. Thank you much, Normal Man. Appreciate it. All right. It says basic story structure is boring. I prefer my stories to be random series of events with no structure or consequences. I guess it would be a little extra work to make it like a whole unique story, but like every single time. But that's a lot. That's a lot to ask for like a series that's supposed to be running this long. And that's kind of Dragon Ball Z as well, right? That's kind of what happens in Dragon Ball Z. You know, they fight the bad guy, they win, you know, and then the next arc is, oh, there's even a stronger bad guy. And they train, they get better, they get a new transformation, they win, they relax a little bit. Oh, there's an even stronger bad guy, right? Like, so, you know, it's like Raditz, right? Oh, Raditz, we beat Raditz. Oh my goodness, that was a tough fight. Goku had to die. Oh, but wait a minute. He called 2 more friends, and they're going to be arriving in like, what, a year? So we're going to get even stronger bad guys. And so, yeah, we have the whole fight there, and Goku comes back to life. He fights Vegeta, and they win. But wait, there's an even stronger bad guy in Frieza. The Frieza and the Frieza Force come in. The heroes train. They go fight him. But wait, they defeat Frieza, right? Frieza's defeated. Now, Goku legendarily defeated Frieza on Planet Namek as it explodes. And then everything's cool. But wait, there's even stronger bad guys because here comes not only Robo Frieza, but also the androids. The androids come in and like, whoa, that's crazy. This little weird white-faced minion thing and this old man destroyed the world. Whoa. But wait. We beat these guys, but wait, there's even stronger bad guys because those weren't actually the androids that Trunks remembers. Those were some random assholes. There was Dr. Gero and some weird white-faced pink thing. I don't know, white-faced thing. I have no idea what that was supposed to be. But yeah, they were the wrong ones because the real ones were Android 18 and 17? I think it was 17. And wow, these guys are way stronger. I think they're stronger than Frieza. And then they fight those guys, and they're pretty much invincible. And then they win there. But wait, there's even stronger bad guy because Cell comes along, right? But wait, oh, we beat Cell. But wait, there's even stronger bad guy when Boo comes along. So it's like the same formula. But the thing is, each one was cool. Like each one, same, you know, it's very similar formula. But like Frieza was awesome. It was a thrilling fight. Cell was a thrilling fight. The androids themselves were pretty cool to see them battle our heroes. And Boo was a crazy one because Boo destroys the world. So they're kind of all the same structurally. Like they're all the same kind of like, okay, they have a new stronger battle to get. They get a new transformation. They train some more with some new guy. and then we beat him, and then boom, here comes a new bad guy. But they're still doing it, and it's still a formula they do to this day, because then we get Beerus, and then we get a guy who's stronger than that or something. It gets kind of crazy. I don't know, but yeah, it's not really structured, but I can see why he might get fed up with it, because if it's every single time, it feels repetitive. But to me, it doesn't really feel repetitive. It kind of just feels like a same story structure, but very high levels of creativity in the bad guys. It's like, yeah, it might feel like same thing, new paint job, but there's a lot of interesting creativity in that paint job. And say Norman Man's basic story structure is boring. Boring. Let's see. Thank you much, Norman Man. Appreciate it.
Vegapunk and Bonnie need protection. Traumatic backstory of Kuma. Corrupt global authority. Admirals and the Elders escalate the conflict. The escape timer from Egghead Island. Luffy clashes.
You know what felt repetitive? The therapy sessions in Amazing Digital Circus. Now, Amazing Digital Circus I do like, but nothing is perfect. Like nothing's perfect. And one of the flaws, I think, of Amazing Digital Circus is this therapy sessions. Because we're going along the story, and then every once in a while we got to stop the story, halt, put on the brakes. The story's got to come to a halt and put on pause for a little bit while two characters have a therapy session. And I'm not calling it a therapy session because it's just two characters talking or spilling their trauma all over the place. I call it a therapy session because it's very millennial in nature. It's very safe space. Like, it's always let's sit down and have a nice heart-to-heart talk. It's very comfortable, very safe, like a therapist and his client. Meanwhile, I'm also watching ReZero. And yeah, there's probably just as much or more character interactions where they talk to each other and spill their guts and like talk about traumatic events in their past. But a lot of times it's the drama is high, or it's done in a hostile manner. Like people are fighting and like, you know what? I respect you as an adversary. Let me go ahead and tell you more about me so this battle can feel a little more dramatic. Right? It's kind of like that. It's not a therapy session. It's not like, let's sit down and get comfortable. And I think you just need to talk to somebody, for a little bit and feel a little bit better. That's kind of the interaction you get in Amazing Digital Circus most of the time, where it's just kind of like it's kind of like Full House. It's kind of that Full House thing where at the end of the episode, we get the cozy music and Bob Saget gets on his knee and talks to Mary Kate and or Ashley in a nice calming voice. And he goes over the troubles of the day. He goes, things like this happen all the time to adults. And this is something that occurs, and, falling outs happen. And, it's some big dramatic scene, but it's like the Bob Saget thing where he's on one knee or kneeling down to eye height with the kid, and talking to them about what happened in a very nice soothing voice, very calming, very very safe space. That's why it's so weird to me, because it is how you talk to a child. And I guess millennials weren't really raised with parents or whatever or something happened to a lot of millennials where they just kind of crave this childlike treatment, where they want all the freedoms of an adult, but they want to be coddled at the same time like a child. It's very interesting. And I've noticed this with a lot of millennial works too, where it's they will make these what I call adult kids cartoons made for adults, which is essentially how you get the Sex Pets people. But that's I've seen this pattern around millennials. It's like they want to be these big rebels and to have all the freedoms of adults, but they also want to be taught. They want to be treated like children. So Amazing Digital Circus has this, where the characters kind of talk to each other like children sometimes, which is why I call it a therapy session. Meanwhile, in anime and ReZero, as I've been watching, which I'm almost done with, by the way, I'm almost done with ReZero. Probably will be done with ReZero by the time Weeb Day dawns tomorrow. But altogether, it's like there's like drama and passion. Like, it's not just, oh, hey, Amelia. That's her name, Amelia. Let's sit down and have a nice, calm talk about your feelings. No, it's about, Amelia, we gotta talk. And then it's like, let me spew out my stuff, and then she spews out her stuff. And it's like, it's a back and forth. And it's not just like, oh, let me listen to my trauma. oh, it's okay, you're cool, you're fine, you're not that bad of a person. Now, Amazing Digital Circus does not do this all the time. There are some instances where we have some high drama between with the conversation between two characters, but it's even then it's pretty close to therapy session time, right? That's kind of what I mean, and I want to make that big distinction because it's not bad to have characters kind of spew out stuff while they fight or while they battle or even in a moment of vulnerability, but it's the therapy session nature which really grates on my nerves because it'd be fine even then it would be fine if it's once in a while, but it's literally every episode and almost every interaction with characters about their feelings or their trauma or whatever, and it's always done in a therapy session style conversation, and it's very annoying. I had to skip through one. I just couldn't take it anymore. It's like, come on, we just had like 3 therapy sessions. Can we just keep the story moving? And that's kind of where the baseline is, right? So the like ReZero, for example, will have these things, will have these moments, and not only will it be done in drama or in a fit of passion or even some sort of like confession style thing where they just can't hold it back anymore. The trauma is just so hard. It's just so much that they kind of have to vomit all out. It's still moving the story along. So in Amazing Digital Circus, I skipped one therapy session moment and nothing changed about the story whatsoever. It's a lot of them tend to be here's my like not just my backstory, but like here's how I'm feeling right now, and then it's a little pick me up at the end, like Bob Saget style in Full House, and that's kind of what it does, and where it ends. It's like, okay, well, we're done with that part. Time for the story to hit play. That's kind of what the biggest deal is of all with Amazing Digital Circus is that when these things happen, when these conversations happen, the therapy sessions happen. It's like it has to press pause on the story essentially while we listen to them talk and confess their and just talk about their feelings and everything, and then once they're done we can press play again. Even the one that I didn't see, it wasn't so bad, which is about Ragatha talking to Kinger about how she's worried about Pomni being corrupted by Jax, doesn't have any weight on the story. Like, it was interesting and we kind of knew that already. We kind of knew from the other parts of the show that she was worried about Jax corrupting Pomni. And then we had a whole talk about it. And it was like, okay, we already knew this information, but we have a like 3-minute conversation about how she feels worried about Pomni being corrupted by Kinger. All right. No, but being corrupted by Jax. It's like, okay, we really need this. And then, worst of all, it had nothing to do with the story. Like, there was no confrontation between Pomni and Ragatha in there. Not really. It wasn't like we climax with Ragatha telling Pomni, like, I'm sorry about all this, and I need to talk to you about Jax and everything. There was nothing. It didn't change the story whatsoever. It didn't even change the relationships between characters whatsoever in that episode. So it's like we really didn't need that one. The main one, though, was Pomni and Jax talking, and how Pomni thought that she and Jax were getting along and that they were becoming friends, and then Jax like rejecting her. That one actually had some drama to it and some weight to it and affected the story in a big way. The other two, because there's 3 kind of therapy session style talks in one episode, which is episode 6. Only one of them had any major consequences for the episode or told us new definitive information. So it's like, yeah. This is what happens quite a bit, unfortunately. But anime does it quite a lot better. It's a lot heavier weight when they have these confrontations. See, Lady Fastlet says, "Good morning, LD and Best Chat. What's the cringe are we laughing at today? Also, what are Luffy and Kid on screen? I don't know. Was this Gear 5 or something? I can't really. I don't really remember. And see here, chat. Do Flamingo says Cell wasn't even supposed to be the antagonist of the android. He says saga either. Toriyama made that up, just went along because Ada didn't like Android 19 or 20 as the arc antagonist. Yeah, they told him like they didn't really like the old man and this big fat idiot looking thing to be the new main bad guys. So that's why Trunks is like, oh yeah, these 2 androids destroyed the world, and lo and behold, the time that Trunks said they would arrive, lo and behold, 2 androids arrived, and they beat them. They beat the 2 androids. But then Trunks arrives and goes, hey, these are not the right androids. What the hell? Then we find out there's two additional androids, and I don't think that the editor liked them either. So they gave us Cell, and the editor did not like Cell either. So we got Cell's transformation, which we got with like the noseless one. The noseless transformation came in, and then it didn't like that either. So we got the another transformation where Cell like absorbs 18 and 17, I think, and then we get Perfect Cell, and the editor liked that one. And from then on, pretty much every bad guy was kind of based on that template of Perfect Cell, I think. Alex Handler, the 10 cheers, is hilariously Cell starts off weaker than 17 and 18 and slowly gets stronger while the main characters try to catch him, especially after he starts absorbing the other androids. Yeah. Thank you much, Alex Halo. Appreciate it. It's a Meglathon. Thanks for the $5 super chat. Thank you much. Says the hero always slays the dragon, but how? It's like the same story structure. Like there's always a dragon that needs to be beaten. It's that the interesting part is how, and the interesting part is definitely seeing him struggle to get there, to become worthy, which is the iconic story of every man. Thank you much, Meglathon. Yes. It's did we meet people or learn new things along the way? Did our values change or get reinforced? The journey, people, it's a journey. Now, the trope is, oh, it's the journey, it's the friends we made along the way. No, it's the entire story. Okay, we can't really dismiss the ending here, but it's the hero 1,000 faces. Like, it's always the same hero. It's just like a new face every time. Always the same island, new face every time. And I'm not dismissing the like. I'm not saying that he's wrong exactly, but this argument so far, if taken on its own, like it's just a new island every time. Okay, even then it could say maybe that's a flaw. If, and here's the big if the islands themselves were very repetitive, like if it's always like a new governor, like in Walking Dead, oh, it's just the governor again. But so far, and going from what I know about One Piece, which is admittedly very, relatively small compared to the giant scope of the overall story, they seem very unique. Like every guy seems unique. Every situation seems very unique. It seems like a lot of the creativity was reserved for the paint job of the island, as opposed to the resources being allocated to making a whole new story altogether. I guess it kind of comes down to what your preference is. Do you prefer like a brand spanking new story every time, like a new situation every single time, or in such a long going series, do you mind having like a repetitive sort of story structure, but the imagination and creativity going into every single island is like top notch, because every single one seems unique to me. And thing is, here's the reality situation, and Brendan Sanderson kind of points out pretty well by comparing creative resources with Warhammer points. Like you only have so many points to allocate to like a Marnie story, but you have more points you can technically allocate in a fantasy or a sci-fi. The points representing, in his case, in his example, the points representing the reader's interest. You only have so much time, so many things you can do, and then also maintain the reader's interest. It goes up when it's more creative based, when it's more like fantasy, sci-fi. It goes down when it's more reality based, like and more grounded, right? More grounded in reality. But there's also, I would say, points you can allocate in terms of creative resources. Like if you're a creative person, you only have so much energy and basically creative resources you can allocate towards making a story. Like, okay, do I want to put more resources toward making a whole brand new spanking thing, and then also make the characters unique? Because if you can save on resources by using the same structure, a new island, new bad guy, new culture, then you can just go in and allocate more of your creative resources to developing that culture. And I mean, it works for Star Trek. I'm not sure why it became such an irritation in One Piece. Maybe because it was kind of different when it was beginning. It's kind of like there was some weird kind of interesting adventures in the beginning. But really, is that so? Because even with Usopp, right? I think Usopp's story begins beforehand, before Nami's. Like even then, it's like, okay, we need, the children and Usopp need to be protected. Um, the bad guy is actually the cat pirate man. He looks like a butler. And we need to defeat that guy. They win the day. That's kind of where they get their ship. But it's still just like an island they show up on or something like that, like new location to show up on. Even with Zoro, I think Zoro was the first guy that Luffy recruited, right? And it's like, here's a new island. There's a bad guy, which is that the guy's son, the Marine's son, and then the Marine himself. And we got to protect Zoro and or this other girl, and we got a little bit of his backstory or whatever. But I mean, it's kind of the same formula from the get go, isn't it? Like a little bit, at least. Call of Duty Section 5. If it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. To pick a real good wheel, exactly. There's a reason why One Piece and DB are good. And I do like Dragon Ball Z. Even I can admit the Dragon Ball Z got repetitive. Even as a kid, we're like, yeah, it's a brand. It's just every arc is a new bad guy, and he's just stronger than the last one. Even as a kid, I was like, this kind of almost feels a little childish. But it was still awesome. Like, it was undeniably awesome. It's Noah Man, additional $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Let's see. Millennials being children acting as adults explains the addiction to safe edgy. Yeah, this being safe edgy. And as a millennial, I can kind of see where this might be coming from, but it was I can see the need for, I want to be a little edgy, but I also don't want to be just annihilated by the story. But as a person who likes to explore stories, and it has been taught to explore stories by some really good teachers and everything, I embrace that sometimes. Like, give me the hardcore story that explores the depths and the darkness of humanity. Give me all that, like Blood Meridian and everything. Interesting things, even the stuff that you want to see, like the darkest parts of humanity, like a brave new world, like where they mass produce humanity, the hellscape that is 1984 Animal Farm, things like this. Very good, interesting stories. I love the Giver. Giver's one of my favorite ones, and that's kind of bleak. It's just, but I love it. I love the Giver. It's one of my favorite stories as a kid. Was the Giver. I love that story. It was fantastic. And speaking of which, chat, speaking of the Giver, got a new video. I'm going over I got the video back from my editor finally. I could go over today and see if it needs any changes or whatever. But if it's good, then the new video come out. And I say this on the tail end of talking about the Giver because it is about wish and what I wish it could have been. And I do make the Giver a big part of this video, the story specifically called the Giver. And see, and no brush away all the gay stuff, the gay ideas. He gives knowledge. All right, he's a guy that gives knowledge to. Man, it sucks because there's two characters in this one that really make it work, and that's the Giver and the Receiver, which was cool, I guess, when it was written, but it's very different connotations today. But especially when the two characters are a really old man and a very young boy, and the very young boy is the Receiver, and the old man is the Giver. It's just, it's just a very strange connotations today in terms of the internet. But it's nothing gay at all, I assure you. Pretty good stuff. It's a really good story. I really enjoy it. It's a dystopian novel about knowledge, the dangers of it, like holding it back. Do you hold knowledge away so that for the sake of peace and everything? It's really interesting. I really like the Giver. I know that it's like part of a 4-book like quadrology, but the Giver is the one I've read of it. But I do like it quite a bit. Anyway, new video coming out soon, hopefully. And I got more on the way. I got 3 scripts done now for additional videos, not counting the one I have now. See, Norman says, thanks for fighting says millennials being children acting as adults explain the addiction to safe edgy. Yeah, it's like, I can kind of understand, maybe you're not in the mood for like a really hard-hitting story right now, that really dragged you through the mud of of emotions and darkness or whatever. But the idea is they don't want all their stuff. They don't want to do that ever. They don't like a lot of millennials do not want that pain ever. They don't want to go through that emotional labor. They want to feel like a little bit edgy without being actually edgy. They want to be safe edgy, which is they're a little bit edgy, but only because their dads would think it was edgy. Like oh, that character's gay. Haha, that's pretty edgy. Oh, they curse a little bit. That's pretty edgy. Oh, he's doing drugs. Like all the libertarian and like lefty style of like, oh, you should just do whatever you want, and you have a right to do whatever you want. Right? It's like I think to me right now the difference between libertarian do whatever you want is the government just stay out of it. Right? I let me do whatever I want. Government stay out of it, and the liberal Democrat kind of I should be able to do whatever I want is the government should step in and force people to let me do whatever I want. That's kind of the difference to me. Is as one is authoritarian and one is like very hands off, get away from me. But that's kind of the sensibility that they have with safe edgy is take that dad. I'm going to do drugs and sleep around with like 40 guys per day and then curse every other word. That's safe edgy because it makes your Catholic or Christian dad angry. That's kind of the definition of safe edgy. Whatever would make a right winger angry or like a conservative Christian angry, that's fine. But if you come in and start slinging around racial slurs or making trans jokes, oh, that's too edgy. That's actual edgy. Can't do that. Or if they are talking about this their main character's guts, or something like that, who's just talking about how he's just going to murder people or doesn't really care about saving minorities or something like that. That's way too edgy. So safe edgy has been hotel, right? That's has been hotel. It's edgy 90s. Like it's what was edgy the 90s. That's safe edgy today because no one cares. Basically, what safe edgy amounts to is, are you going to get in trouble for this? And the answer is no. Then it's probably safe edgy. Like cursing, making all your characters gay, having them do drugs. That used to be a thing that got you in trouble back then. Not now, though. Not now. That's what safe edgy kind of is. It used to be edgy. It makes you feel edgy when you do it, but you're not going to get any trouble for it. It's literally safe. And it does grate on the mind sometimes. Like, grow up a little bit. Come on. So I broke off with my 5-year D&D group because their addiction to in-character therapy said, oh, geez. Oh, my goodness. I cannot imagine being a D&D group and having to sit through everyone's therapy sessions. This is like a thing I think that has come along with D&D. And I've heard other people complain about this too. And they kind of have like old school players have unified to say, bro, the D&D is not a therapy session. All right. D&D should not be therapy. D&D is supposed to be fun. All right. For everyone. It shouldn't be your therapy outlet. But the thing is, it happens so often because I'm pretty sure the main group playing it now are millennials, and millennials love the therapy sessions. So that's what's been happening. A lot of groups are just complaining that every single time it's therapy session. Like some people are using their D&D sessions to work through their own problems or whatever, or to express their fetishes or something. It's crazy. Kind of crazy. So I can understand parting ways with that. And I guess I'll blame Critical Role. Like, didn't Critical Role do that kind of crap where they put in therapy sessions and they put in woke stuff in there? And going by what I know, I'm not really sure if they even wanted to. Is it that season 1 was the one people liked a lot, but it was the most problematic? Like, where are the minority characters? Why is everything so homophobic? That sort of thing. Then they got really popular, and that's like what happens with a lot of people who are really popular, but this kind of popularity, like web popularity. I mean, they had voice acting popularity, but not like constant gigantic surges of web popularity that they had after Critical Role took off, right? So then, of course, they immediately bent the knee, like any PR firm would tell you, like any big old corporation would do. That, oh, we can a really big, loud following here, but then they like us, but they have changes, they have demands, and the mob has demanded, if thou doesn't wanteth us to turn on thee, then you should bring in more more woke stuff in there. So it kind of started becoming more woke because they demanded it to be. And I think that's kind of where it went. Like the mob demanded to be woke, so they complied. And so Critical Role made D&D popular as a woke media. As a woke medium. And see your chat. But that makes sense. Grinding to the... See, that's what I'm talking about. Therapy sessions grinding the campaign to all the freaking time. Same thing happens in the Amazing Digital Circus. And I do like Amazing Digital Circus. I like it way better than Has No Tell, in fact. Because outside the therapy session things, it's a pretty intriguing story, like so far. But yeah, same thing happens in Amazing Digital Circus. It's like they don't know how to weave in these things to keep the story moving. Like ReZero is really good at this, but it's really good at keeping the story moving, or at least getting me hooked into what the characters are saying. And I mean, sometimes it gets a little much, but it's even then it's still pretty good. But the therapy session is one of the hallmarks of it is the story must pause. The story must come to a complete halt so we can have a therapy session between two characters, because the story kind of requires conflict. It kind of requires something, two things trying to go head to head with each other. However, therapy sessions, is why I'm calling it therapy sessions, is that it needs to be safe, right? It's great. You walk into your therapist's office and somebody be very comfortable, very soothing. So it's not really an environment that is conducive to conflict. So that's why when you have these therapy sessions, they have to stop the story, typically speaking. Even in episode 6, the one with Ragatha and Kinger, they're talking about, oh, I'm so scared that Pomni is going to be corrupted by Jax. It's stop the story. We literally have stopped the story in its tracks so we can have this therapy session between Kinger and Ragatha. It's like that's why it's a therapy session. So yeah, it's about it. There's no conflict. It's just about two characters kind of like getting just talking it out calmly with no conflict. And then they're very receptive, very, very consoling, very coddling, like a therapist would be. And then after the talk, we can press play on the story again instead of it flowing through organically. It is very annoying. It is very annoying. It's my biggest annoyance about the show, despite the fact that I do like the show. I do like the show more or less, overall. Norm Mendes says, don't forget to thank your editor, the good ones at least. Yeah, don't worry. I asked him this morning how he wants to be credited, and I will follow his instructions. Absolutely. Thank you much, Norm, man. Appreciate it. And see your chat. Zoro says, I kind of wish that we got a film of Meta Runner in theaters centered around Tari developing new perfect friendships instead of we got the shit in Amazing Digital Circus. I don't know. It might. I'm not sure if it's gonna be worth, because so far each episode is 20 minutes, right? Unless this last episode is gonna be like an hour and a half. I kind of feel like you're gonna be wasting your time, right? Which I'm hoping, considering it's the finale, right? I'm hoping the last episode will be like an hour and a half, like feature length, something like that. It should be. I'm not really sure how people will feel if you're going all the way to the theater, buying your ticket, buying your popcorn or whatever, getting all your friends together, and then going to the theater for a 25-minute episode. I'm not really sure people are going to like that very much. Call of Duty is a Literature Level Toriyama's editor is great. Oh, yeah. I mean, look, when you have a guy like Toriyama, again, no disrespect to Toriyama, this is a thing I've seen most writers need, including myself. You need an editor because when you're in the creative chair, it doesn't matter if you worked as an editor before and you can look, because it's one thing to look at someone else's work with a critical eye. It's a whole nother thing to look at your own work with a critical eye. It's almost impossible unless you set it aside for like a week or 2 weeks or something like that. Then you can look at your own work with a critical eye. But in the moment, if you don't have that much time, you're trying to get stories out and everything. You guys gotta get stories developed. You gotta get arcs planned out. You do need an editor there to go, oh wow, this is pretty cool, but we kind of need to change this, or I don't really like this, I don't really like that, because the editor's job in this position is to go like, okay, we need to make something that the audience will like and will resonate with. And they're probably not gonna really like our heroes fighting like this grizzled old man and this fat idiot. These are not main bad guy material, Toriyama. We need some new guys. Okay, so you made like 3 more androids, which is like the red hair guy. I forgot what his name is. He's supposed to like kill Goku, and then 17 and 18. Okay, interesting. He's like, okay, we need another one. we need a real big bad guy this time. So yeah, the editor is important, right? It's like a tag team. It's a team effort. A writer needs an editor because the writer, despite being, if they could be really knowledgeable in writing, they could be really knowledgeable on editing and stuff. But when it comes to their own projects, when it comes to their own creativity, it's really different. Okay, it's very different when you're in the writer's chair. Because it's you have blindness, you have your narrative blindness. You know the story, but the other people don't. It's all of that stuff. So you do need someone there with a critical eye saying, I can't do that, can't do that, can't do that. I mean, Brandon Sanderson is a professional, like a consummate professional writer. We've seen that he could write, so he can crank out 7 books in like in a year or two, and it's insane. Also, right, he's well known, very popular, millions of dollars. You know, he's generating millions of dollars with his writing. Very popular fellow. Still needs editors. In fact, he hires his own team of editors to keep everything on track. So yeah, even people who are professionals with tons of experience they know they need editors. Like, in fact, having experience as a writer teaches you that you need an editor. It's kind of how that goes. And you need at least a decent editor. All right. He likes the bash Western fandom by saying you're not a real fan unless you read the manga 5 times. Very based. Very based. Let's see. Alex, there's 10 cheers with the Marine, Captain Morgan's son, then last became Kobe's. That's it. The captain's son, who is let me say, he is a dick. He's really evil in the first one, kind of. Like, he's kind of a dick in the first one. But I will say that he doesn't seem too evil in the first one. Like, it kind of feels like all of his evil actions come from his need to act out, like his neglect from his father, or trying to become a better person, or trying to be a worthy person. And he thinks that being powerful, being dominating is how you get there. So it does seem like there was like a nugget of redemption in there. There's a hope in there. Let's see. I like the 10 cheers. Yeah, thanks, 10 cheers. Appreciate it. And see. Let's see. And prepare to receive mine. Yeah. The pitcher and the catcher. The receiver and the giver. It's like, oh man. Let's see. Anyway, chat. See, Talented Burger says, put a chick in it and make her lame and gay. Well, I mean, not lame at least. Yeah. Let's see. I wonder how people resonate if it's like 2 attractive lesbians in there. Kyle Vampire God, they should send $1 super chat. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. Says, I feel like the world of the Giver is the exact world the woke want to live in. It is, because the world of the Giver, it's a world where they control language, like a lot. No one thinks for themselves. Everything is decided for you, and you try to break the norm. You're evil. Yes, exactly. It's kind of what happens. That's exactly how the world is like in The Giver. You break away from the norm, they cast you out, and they kind of brand you as a traitor and everything. And it's exactly, it's more than that even, where it's like the world of The Giver is very feminine. It's very coddling. It's very touchy feely, but you break away from the group think. It's like, oh, you're evil. It is very feminine in nature, it seems like. It's just like if you're the group of mean girls, you dare go a little bit against the grain, they kick you out, they exile you. So it's either all or nothing in this kind of society. Yeah, they control words. Like there's one moment in The Giver where this one kid is kind of an idiot, and he they want a snack. He's like, I want a snack, but he's so excited for his snack that he says, I want my smack. And because they're so stringent, so rigid and strict on how you use words, the teachers complied. Instead of giving him his snack, they paddled him. Because he said, I want my smack, not my snack. And it's like, oh, it teaches you how to be careful with your words. That's how strict they are with language. This like the leftist SJW types are. They're that level of strict with their language. They want to control language. That's kind of what their number one goal is. But thank you much, Kyle the Vampire God. Appreciate it. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Very generous. Very generous. Oh my goodness, chat. Let's see. Where are we now? Cardigan says, if anything, D&D should cause therapy. Yeah, D&D should not be healing your therapy, healing your trauma. Should be causing additional trauma. If you're not causing your players additional trauma, you're probably doing it wrong. All right. Vox Machina and D&D shows. Yeah, okay. The cartoon show, pretty okay. I mean, it's got some gay stuff in there, but overall, I really enjoy the violence. It's brutal. Like I like the first arc and then the second arc of Vox Machina. Because I think the first arc is them versus the dragon. So when they go to what was it called? The Vampire Land. When they go to Percy's hometown, that's where it gets cool. Like that's a really good story arc, actually. And there's not even a lot of gay stuff in it. It's there once in a while, but overall, it's pretty good. And the violence is ideal. Like it's really top-notch violence. I love it. Let's see. What was here? Fatal Chris says yes and no. Those characters were made for them, so it's likely the stories they wanted to tell, but I'm sure they built half-handled at best. Possibly. Let's see, chat. Apparently, Beijing Digital Circus is based on I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. Yeah, that's what I was told, and it kind of feels that way. Whereas he's torturing these people or making them go through adventures, and the adventures can be pretty brutal sometimes. Okay, so the 8th is 30 minutes long. Well, hopefully the last episode, like episode 9, which I think is the last episode altogether, if it's going to be in theaters, it should be at least an hour and 20 minutes. It should be 80 to 90 minutes, I think. It better be, because give a cool, long send-off, tie up all loose ends and stuff. Yeah, editors are supposed to be more objective, absolutely. And I do think that a good writer needs a good editor. Because it does really help. Let's see, chat. All right. So Shining Truckers, no glitches the streams for me. Well, I have to go find Trucker Hat. Have a great day, LD and chat. Well, good morning to you, Shining Truckers. Have a great, fantastic, wonderful day. Let's see, chat. Golden Reaper looks at $2 super chat. Thank you very much. We should appreciate it.
Nice.
What's the cringe? World of Giver communism? Yes. Let's see, chat. It's a good story. And my new video is gonna involve the Giver and how I think it'd be way better if Wish had kind of modeled itself after the Giver instead of the crap we got, which is I have no idea what. It's just like 10 people. That's kind of why it felt like it was written by AI. But I mean, even AI would do better. Like a really low tier AI, like a really low tier AI that had no idea what it was doing. That's kind of what it felt like. Anyway, chat.
With Kizaru, worldwide consequences. Now let's stop. Let that breathe for a second. Different arcs, different aesthetics, different characters, but the same structure. You don't have to agree with me. In fact, I don't even think all of these arcs are bad. Some of them are great, but once you see the structure, you can't unsee it. I'm not saying what...
I mean, I probably would have noticed it had I've continued the story. I've noticed it. Usually notice a structure in a lot of things, but it rarely ever bothers me. I wouldn't say never, because of course it bothered me in Walking Dead, but only because it kind of seemed antithetical to what Walking Dead was supposed to be, like just going from one terminus to another. Like this, okay, another, like when are we gonna start fighting zombies? Like it kind of felt like you're drifting away from fighting zombies to fighting humans and everything, and it's like, okay, well, what about something else? Like, okay, Terminus was a pretty cool arc, and the governor thing was cool, but they kind of became the norm after that, and they're like, okay, but I think we there's other things we can do besides this find new paradise, and something is wrong with it. It's like this. You could only do that once. So did that what 2-3 times? I think 3 times. I think it's 3 times what got on my nerves. I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I watched the show, but I remember that being the case.
One Piece is bad. I'm saying it's predictable by design. Every arc starts to feel familiar, no matter how good it is. Different islands, different villains, different stakes, same pattern. And this carries us into section 3, another problem that I have with One Piece. It's never just about helping people with One Piece. It's always something grander, like saving a kingdom. It can never just be a random person. Take Vivi, for example. She's not just a girl in trouble, she's the princess, and her kingdom is under threat. And the Straw Hats have to save Alabasta by defeating Crocodile. Cool, it works. Luffy
And the last of a generation says, have you guys heard of Death Battle? I like the information they gather, but they leave out a lot of important stuff that makes the battles kind of pointless. Yeah, it's like, the battle's cool, but because it's in the realm of nerddom, it's going to be kind of impossible to get everything right. But and sometimes they just are just straight up ridiculous. I do know that one time they had like Ruby win because they were owned by the company. I forget what the company was called, but Rooster Teeth. I think it was Rooster Teeth. But yeah, it's like, okay, well, they're obviously not unbiased in a lot of these things. Absolutely not.
punches the problem in
Although I did like the fact that they had Superman beat Goku. That was pretty on point, I think.
the face. And then we move on. But then you do it again. The Straw Hats just so happen to meet Shirahoshi. And of course, what do you know? She's not just some random mermaid, she's the mermaid princess, the most important person on all of Fishman Island. And surprise, Fishman Island is in crisis. There's an extremist villain, racial tension.
But that's pretty cool. They save a lot of princesses. That's kind of the most archetypical thing to do. Save the princess.
Generational hatred, centuries of oppression. And who shows up to fix all of that? The Straw Hats. And of course, Luffy punches out the problem, and then we move on. And in case anyone else thinks I'm cherry picking, oh look, there's another princess in another castle. I'm sure you guys are catching on at this point, but the Straw Hats meet Rebecca, another royal.
And that one I saw, the one where Ruby loses, that was pretty epic. I was like, what? They chopped her in half? And then that's where I remember that it was called Death Battle. Like they have to die, right? So I was thinking about it's going to be like it's going to end in like a draw or something, and they're going to be friends at the end because Ruby was still her Ruby self, and I know what that's like because you guys forced me to watch all episodes of Ruby. So I'm like, oh, she gets all excited. Oh, your boyfriend's a scythe and everything. Like, surely they're going to become friends after this, but no, Ruby gets cut in half. Like, whoa, that's pretty brutal, but awesome at the same time. And see, chat. See, Alexia, the 10 cheers, LD. They don't meet the mermaid and princess until decades after Vivi. Wow, a decade? Like in universe decade? Interesting.
The repressed kingdom, another tyrant, Doflamingo. Say it with me, everybody. Luffy punches out the problem, and then we move on. Also, here's some more food for thought for you guys. Why is it that nobody in the One Piece universe can just be a person? You're probably asking, Shane, what do you mean by this? Well, what I mean is that everybody has to be somebody. Oda needs to give everybody some inflated sense
Yeah, sounds pretty good to me. It makes the story more dramatic and have more weight to it.
of importance. For example, Luffy didn't just grow up with some random kid, it just had to be Gold Roger's son, the fucking Pirate King. Because of course it was. And this isn't even the
He is? That's awesome.
worst part. Luffy also grew up with Sabo, who I'm not exactly
Well, it's not that unusual, right? Like I think the closest we get to a nobody is Goku. Because they canonically, yeah, sure, Goku is a Saiyan, but in Saiyan society, he's like a grunt. Like he's like a low tier, low class guy. That's why Vegeta's like, oh, I can't believe I lost to this low class grunt guy. And even did you know also that the idea of him being low class is why Turles looks like him and why Bardock looks like Turles and Goku. It's not just because Bardock is Goku's dad. Apparently, low class Saiyans are kind of just like copy paste. That's the argument I've heard. Like low class Saiyans are more like copy paste, and like so many they all almost look the same. Meanwhile, elite Saiyans are the ones that look more unique, like Vegeta.
exaggerating, is also born into nobility. He survives an incident that should have absolutely killed him, conveniently loses his memory, and then grows up to become the second in command of the Revolutionary Army. And we're all just supposed to accept this without thinking. But I'll come back to Sabo later because I have a whole section on him. But moving forward, Sanji just couldn't be a regular cook. His backstory with Zeph, oh, clearly that wasn't good enough. It turns out that Sanji is a genetically enhanced royal prince from a bloodline of the evil Germa family. Yeah, this is really enhancing Sanji's character so much more. I'm so glad we did this. Also, look at Shanks. Shanks couldn't just be a strong pirate. Now his father has to be one of the 5 elders, therefore making Shanks...
Well, I mean, he was a really strong pirate. I mean, just a strong pirate. You don't have to get the strength from somewhere, right? So the idea that he's really super strong and everything, it hints to, okay, how did he get that way? It's in fact, you know, with now that I can get here, John Wick. Not that could bring it back to John Wick. Did you know one of the first things that people started asking about John Wick after the first movie, and I think after the second movie, was what the hell? Where did this guy come from? Where does this guy get his training? Because a guy this awesome didn't just inherit his powers. Like he had to have been trained, you know. So that's the first question you ask when you encounter a strong person. It's not just like he's just awesome. There's a reason why he's awesome, and that's, you know, Kenshin Himura trained in the Hiten Mitsurugi style, legendary swordsmanship style. You know, the Yu Hakusho trained under Genkai, which allowed him to become, you know, jump up a few levels in power. Luke Skywalker trained under Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda, and so on and so forth. I mean, you don't just become powerful out of nowhere. You kind of not even in anime. Sometimes I guess you do, but you kind of have to have training to hone that raw power even so. So the idea that Shanks is powerful, it kind of hinted that he had to have some training or something in his past. So the idea that, oh, maybe he's like this awesome guy's son makes sense. I don't really see why it's an issue. Not at all.
Royalty. Oh, but we can't forget that Shanks also has an estranged twin brother who just so happens to be a world noble. Why? Why couldn't Shanks just have a normal family? Do we even need to know Shanks' family? Seriously? Did Sanji really need a cyborg royal lineage? Was it necessary for Luffy to grow up with the king of the pirates' son? In my opinion, this isn't depth. I think it's an overconnection, and seriously, despite how big the One Piece world is, I think these overt connections make the world...
Okay, I feel like are you one of those guys that complained about Rey not being nobody, that she was like Palpatine's granddaughter or something like that? Like, this is not an issue. These are good ideas. The fact that your characters are some, like, everyone is somebody, right? Everyone is technically somebody. Even if you're nobody, you are somebody in some way or shape or form, right? Right? You can't, like, they have to have dads and stuff like that. But the thing is, if you are strong, if your character is as strong as Shanks was, because Shanks wasn't this strong, he looks super strong. Why then is it bad that we have him be from somebody awesome? That would actually make sense. It would be logical that he's from somebody awesome. That's traditionally how it goes. And to the point where if we have a guy that was born from nobody, and he was born from nothing, like just normal parents and everything, but he ends up being super strong, that's a unique story, because usually it doesn't really usually happen. Usually it's like, traditionally, you're born to a dad, and then you share in the dad's hobbies and interests. Like your dad's a butcher, then you become a butcher. Or at one point, you're like, okay, grew up as my mentoring under my dad as a butcher, but as I grew into a teenager, I wanted to rebel against that, so I became a farmer. And that didn't work out. And I kind of later on, I came to appreciate what my dad did for me, and I made peace. And now I'm also a butcher, or I now have cattle or something like that. That's actually the emotional change you get in a hero's journey. At first, you love your dad. You want to do what he does. Then you get into your teenage years. You have your rebellion. It's kind of if you look in the hero's journey, it's a conflict with the father. Now, Luke Skywalker had a literal conflict with his dad. It's not necessarily what needs to happen. It's just that you have an emotional conflict with your dad. You are at odds with him because of your rebellious phase. You want to be apart from him, because as a man, you want to make your own legacy. You don't want to inherit your father's legacy. You want to be your own legacy. You see the themes of this all over the place, right? You see like a bunch of characters who have like hero dads, like and they're going to keep getting compared to their dad, like, oh, you're blah blah son or whatever. Like, I'm tired of being my dad's son. I'm tired of living in his shadow, right? How many times have you heard this in stories? I'm tired of living my dad's shadow. Like blanket moment in Hero's Journey. Men want to make their own legacy, even if they don't hate their dads. So they move the other way. And they might like it, they might come to terms with it. But eventually, once they grow up and mature, they come back down and they have a reconciliation with the father, which is also part of the hero's journey. Reconciliation with the father. Because now you know, like, I appreciate what you did for me. I didn't see it before, because you never see it. You never see it. This is why we have a phrase or an old saying that goes, you'll thank me for this when you're older. And at the moment, we're like, yeah, right, I will. I hate this. But then we grow up and we mature, and eventually we're like, oh, okay, Dad, I see what you're trying to do for me. Thank you very much for what you did. Even if you are at odds professionally or whatever. That's how it goes. All right. So, like, even if you go in the same profession, you might want to go a different branch of that profession than he did. It's just you want to make your own legacy. That's the end of it. Because as Robert Bly mentions in the book Iron John, or points out, masculinity, the core foundation of masculinity rests in opposition. It rests in defiance. When you're trying to steal the golden key from your mother, because your mother will not ever hand it to you. She will not ever let you be masculine. She will not ever let you grow up. You have to steal the key to open up the cage of your masculinity. So it all fits together. All right. But going all the way back, it's like if you are born to like a fighter, you're probably going to be a fighter. You're probably going to have that style of intention. Like you want to fight, you want to learn, you're going to be aggressive, you're going to want to tangle with people, things like that. So the idea that Shanks is a powerful guy, but he's from no one or nowhere, it's kind of like, it's not only is it not logical, it would be disappointing. The mysterious guy named Shanks is really powerful. Let's look into his backstory. Oh, he's just like from some peasant farm. Okay, well, that's not that interesting. And like, is that realistic? Sure, I guess it can be realistic. You can have that. You can come from a family of nobodies or whatever. You can, or a family of mundane people or poor people or whatever this guy wants, and then he becomes strong. But then that might be disappointing for the readers. And we are making a story here, and we kind of want it to be interesting. And I know being boring is kind of the new thing. Oh, it's about failure. Oh, they should come from nobody. I know that's the new age thing where they kind of want to wallow on negativity and cynicism, but it's not as interesting as they might think to most people. All right, logically, Sanji should be awesome. Logically, Shank should come from should hail from a cool lineage, something like that. Luffy is a mysterious weirdo and should also hail from a cool lineage. And it makes sense. Like, why is he hanging out with Shanks as a kid? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? So it's like it sets up an implicit mystery as to who this is. And if we have like, oh, this crazy strong pirate crew under Shanks has this kid along named Luffy. And why? How do they meet? Why do they know each other so much? Like, how does this happen? And if the answer is just because, it's not really going to be all that interesting. I like to say, like, 10 Cheers to Sanji's family is also evil Power Rangers, and Sanji is a Black Ranger that can turn invisible. That's pretty funny. And let's see here. Paustiana, thanks for the $5 super chat, says the characters' backstories is a weird thing to complain about. We kind of need a reason to follow these characters, especially the main characters. Yeah, can some people have like nobody backstories? Sure. But when it's someone like as over the top as Shanks, I don't think so. I don't think that would have been ideal. Thank you much, Paustiana. Appreciate it.
It'll feel smaller. And to the One Piece fans defending this, ask yourself this. Was it really necessary that we had to find out the Queen of the Beast Pirates was Frankie's father? But Shane, they're both cyborgs.
I've got to say, in all honesty, it's the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever heard.
I could have gone the rest of my life without knowing this. Everybody has to be connected in some weird, intricate way. It amazes me that Oda will tell us some useless piece of trash knowledge like this, but we get no information still after 25 plus years later about the Will of D, and we only get a tidbit of information about the Void Century, essentially confirming what we already knew, that it was a global war, and that the world government had erased history on purpose. Now, to all the One Piece fans here, I'm not trying to be pretentious, I'm just imploring you to acknowledge that is...
And see, I said, then Cheers is Roger found baby Shanks Shanks in a treasure chest from a place called God Valley. And how did he get in the chest? Luffy's father was trying to save him, pass out, and Shanks crawl into the chest. That's interesting. There's a lot of cool twists and turns in the story.
The story has gone on. More characters are revealed to be
I'm still going to finish ReZero, probably by tomorrow.
either royalty, the children of legends, connected to the world-shaping families, directly tied to the world government or the Five Elders in some way. And overall, as large as the One Piece world is, it becomes claustrophobic when every single character is connected to one another in some weird way like this. Everyone has to be super.
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
Alright guys, try to keep up with me for the next one here. Through time travel shenanigans, we get to meet Kozuke Momonosuke, who I will refer to as Momo, who turns out to be royalty, because of course he is. And once again, the Straw Hats have to overthrow the evil villain Kaido and restore his kingdom. And of course, the Straw Hats bring forth restoration by once again Luffy punching out the problem, and we move on. And it was at this point in the story, after Wano, that I completely checked out, because the solution is almost always the same. Notice how I'm saying almost always the same. Oda dresses up this fine veneer of a different island, different costumes, and introducing a different villain each arc. But all of it, every single bit of it, serves the exact same narrative function. The only thing that ever changes in this story is the power label the story slaps on the antagonist. At first, it's, oh, we're just dealing with a marine captain or an average pirate. What are we going to do? Oh, just get Luffy to punch it. Okay. And then
yeah, it's a shonen. What else would he do? He's not exactly like a Brainiac or anything. That's kind of usually what you want to build your conflicts up towards, is like a nice, cool fight. That's what we want to see. I don't want to see Luffy like redo his taxes or anything, or trying to make new policies of law. I want to see him punch the bad guy and solve the issue by punching the bad guy. What's wrong with this? Alex, get the 10 cheers. Every connection is set up way earlier every single time. But yeah, I heard that there's a lot of good setups in One Piece too.
oh, this one's a warlord of the sea. All right, gotta be careful here. Just get Luffy to punch it in the face. Okay, and now we're at the point in the series where it's, oh shit, this is getting serious. We're dealing with the emperors now. This villain is stronger than all the previous villains combined.
Are you going to complain that Luffy fights these guys too? Hold on. Are you going to complain about that? That's going to be kind of a weird complaint.
And the solution is still the same. Luffy punches it in the face.
You're going to complain about Luffy punching these back? Come on. I think you're just tired of shonen, actually. I don't think you're tired of One Piece. I just feel like you're tired of shonen. Wait, doing. That's like I'm watching Dragon Ball Z. My complaint is like, oh, they fight too much. Goku punches too many bad guys in Dragon Ball Z. Well, I feel like you're just done with shonen. I feel like you're just tired of shonen, not really One Piece in general.
Now, I have a question for all the One Piece fans who are obviously seething in my comment section right now. Do you guys not realize that this is just a different island, different costume?
You just not realize it's a shonen, and if you want things that are higher tier in terms of like philosophy or human exploration, you might want to go with seinen. Like shonen might just be shonen is for younger guys who kind of just want to see fights. That's why it's so hype, and that's why we all like it, because it kind of the kid inside most men never dies. We all like Dragon Ball Z. We all want to see big flashy fights. But when you get older and you mature a bit, you kind of want to gravitate to some things that are more intellectually sustaining, like something that's more intellectually delicious, which is what seinen gets you, which is like, One Punch Man, which, yeah, also has fights and stuff like that, and really cool fights at that, but is also kind of built on deeper themes and ideas of what makes a hero, what makes a person, and the nature of strength itself. We got One Punch Man, then we got Moon Rider, who everyone also loves, because Moon Rider is like the weakest guy, but he also has endless courage. So it does explore these deeper themes, which is pretty cool. I'm not sure if it's seinen or not, but it does have this whole idea of like, you're strong, you have everything you ever wanted, but none of it is meaningful to you. Hard says, I don't watch shonen specifically because of the reasons this guy is using, but I at least know it's because I have lost my flavor for shonen. I'm not going to complain about it like someone entitled to watch. Yeah, this is what shonen is about. Shonen is about, it could be about different characters and everything and different circumstances, but ultimately what you want from a shonen is a really cool fight. So it really does feel like this guy is tired of shonen, which, give or take, to each their own, and not really tired of One Piece. It's like, if you're once you get to the point where you complain about Luffy punching people in a shonen, an adventure story, I think you're just tired of shonen. I just think you are. Alex Halo, the 10 cheers is Luffy couldn't punch Crocodile, who turns into sand. He had to figure out his weakness was water and uses his own blood as well, so he can punch him. Crocodile also has the power to dry out anything it touches. So that's pretty interesting. That's actually a terrifying power. You just turn you into an instant mummy. That's pretty crazy. Arc 5 says, didn't this video start with him saying he wasn't mad and then go on to spill enough salt to fill the sea? He says he's not mad and doesn't really look down on you if you like One Piece. But it's like the whole thing about, hey, I want you to acknowledge One Piece fans that this is an new island every time. Yeah. Seems pretty obvious to me. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of One Piece fans were looking through the story and reading the manga and going, oh, I can't wait till they get to the next island to see the next bad guy. So I know I would be. That's how I was when I was a kid with Dragon Ball Z. Like, I can't wait to see the new bad guy for this arc. Right? I can't wait to see who they're gonna fight next. Makes sense to me. So I can, based on that alone, I can only presume that the people who love One Piece are like, I can't wait till they get to the next island. Because that's kind of a, let's see, shaky, saving for Shaky. Let's see, which is it, Shanks or Shaky? Who's Shaky? Viz Ocho says the only thing shonen can give you is cool fights and nudity. Yeah, they have different rules, by the way, for shonen and shoujo. Like, shoujo is supposed to be nice and tame. Like, they don't really want to expose their girls or anything to the same stuff they expose boys to. Like, so there's not going to be as much crude nudity or anything like that, or violence. They tend to have those rules, as far as I've read. It's a
different villain, but it's the same narrative function, beat for beat, time after time. At this point in the series, Luffy could go Gear 5th, scream Gum Gum Galaxy Cluster, Elephant Nut Buster, Red Rifle, Supernova, Sloppy Toppy Attack. He could knock out all of the warlords.
I'm pretty sure it is tired of shonen. I think you're just tired of shonen, because like every shonen anime.
All of the emperors, every single admiral. He could collapse Marijois. He could beat the Gorosei's ass. Luffy could slap Eam off of his throne and then stretch his fist down into Gold D. Rogers' grave and grab his corpse and fucking strangle him. And you know what, guys? I would feel nothing, because I already know how every fight in this story resolves. I don't even feel the escalation anymore. People act like raising the power ceiling automatically raises the narrative stakes. And this would almost be true if death actually existed in this universe, and I'll talk about that in full later. But I'm sorry guys, there's no amount of beautiful Toei animation and flashing colors that's going to be a substitute for good writing. Luffy could scream his head off and throw the best punches in the universe. But if the arc isn't well written, then I'm not going to be invested in the narrative. And when we talk about narrative, oh my god, One Piece has a pacing problem.
Let's see. Alex Edlington Cheers is also, when the palace guards drank forbidden water that makes you stronger, it will kill you after. Then Crocodile just said he is going to fly up and watch them die and not fight him, just to be an asshole. That's pretty funny. By the way, chat, we are just $36 away from unlocking not only Pillarman, but the final episodes of Amazing Digital Circus. Thank you much, everyone. Appreciate it. So we're almost there, chat. Just a little bit more to go.
Problem. And there is so much narrative padding that coats the
All right, so this pacing problem that it supposedly has.
series. One Piece doesn't just have slow pacing, it has hostile pacing. It took Moist Critical 5 years to finish this series, and he was watching it with one pace, which skips all of the filler. Your boy did not have that same luxury. I was never the same after the Davy back fight round 2. But in all seriousness, One Piece constantly stalls itself through contrivances that exist for one reason only: to delay progress. Luffy is stuck in the pool at Arlong Park. Luffy gets swallowed by a snake in Skypiea and thinks he's inside a cave, because again, this main character has room temperature IQ. Oopsie, Zoro fell into the chimney. What's that, you say? We have to wait 20 chapters before Luffy can arrive on the rooftop in Wano? Now, we all know that these are contrivances that Oda deliberately puts in here to try to stagnate the plot further. And of course, you don't want the clash with the main villain to happen immediately. But after a certain point, some of this stuff just becomes ridiculous. The stalling and the narrative padding really draw out these arcs. And at this point in One Piece, if you don't like one of the modern arcs, oh man, I'm sorry, but you gotta strap in, because there is no escape. No short detour here, no palate cleanser, nothing. And this is exactly what happened to me. Wano was a particularly hard arc for me to get through. The pacing of Wano destroyed me, and I just found myself asking, Oda, how many days are we going to be in Wano for?
And the next day, and the next day, and the next day,
And the next day, and the next day.
and the next day, 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 and the next day.
Now, I struggled getting through Wano, not because of the island itself, I actually thought that was pretty interesting, but I just really couldn't get behind Kaido. And unfortunately for me, I was stuck with this guy for fucking hundreds of chapters. Now, I don't like to use crude labels like this, so I'm not going to say that Kaido is a stupid villain, but I would say that he is a little bit underdeveloped, maybe half-cooked. He doesn't really have a personality. I mean, we get a backstory with Rock's Big Mom, how he got his devil fruit, the rivalry with Odin, I think that was okay. And then we just spend hundreds of chapters on this. But a backstory does not equate to a personality. You can give this character all the lore in the world, and it doesn't mean that he's well written. When we boil Kaido down to his essence, what do we really take away from him? Well, we know he's strong. We know he's an alcoholic, and we know he wants to unalive himself. I mean, are we really describing one of the emperors of the sea or my stepfather? And all of these traits lead to one of the dumbest introductions for a character I have ever seen. Kaido is introduced to us as he attempts to unalive himself by jumping off of the Sky Island. Kaido in this chapter makes a big impact, both literally and metaphorically. And I'll be entirely honest with you guys, when I first saw this in the anime, I thought this was one of the most badass character introductions of all time. Sad to say this, but I specifically
I
remember...
mean, it looks pretty badass from here. Like, this guy just walks in, he's enormous. His tattoos, giant horns. I don't know why he has horns. Is there like half beastmen also in the world of One Piece? I mean, this looks pretty cool. This image alone is pretty awesome. And see, I actually have the 10 shares. Oda didn't write Luffy winning the fight with the strongest beast Kaido faster. But yeah, I mean, in order to maintain focus, I'm pretty sure every arc had like some build up, some tension. Things like that.
A younger version of myself tweaking out on the couch, being like,
Oh, I can't wait for the Straw Hats to take on Kaido. Oh my god.
Yeah, I want to fight him. Like, if he wasn't a video game, I definitely want to fight him.
But then you think about this scene for any longer than 2 seconds and you realize how stupid it is. You realize, oh, Kaido is a devil fruit user. So let me ask you One Piece fans a very simple question. If Kaido really wanted to die, then why didn't Kaido just go play in the ocean, huh? Oh, and I can already hear you guys typing in the comment section.
But Shane, Kaido wanted an honorable death on the battlefield.
Okay, let's take that premise, all right? Let's say Kaido wanted to die on the battlefield. Then why?
And see, here's a look at it. Shosha keeps giving Oda a ton of money to not end One Piece. I think the same thing happened with Toriyama, right? Toriyama had Dragon Ball, and then they had Dragon Ball Z, which is like supposed to be the end of the series. Like, okay, we aged up Goku. This is going to be like the end of his saga. And then they said, nope, it's still really popular. Keep going. And I think they kind of build up to the Saiyan saga, and then they kind of build up to Frieza saga, and the Frieza saga was supposed to be the final end, I think. And Toriyama was like, okay, there we go. Now we can end the series. And they're like, nope, it's still really popular. So that's so then we got the Android arc and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of what happened, right? It's kind of what happened with Dragon Ball Z. They just would not let it end. Let's see. I was at the 10 years. Kaido is a Oni race. He has set up for years. Really?
Why did he dodge Zoro's attack? Why did he build the Beast Empire? Why would he avoid things that would kill him if this stupid fuck really wanted to die? If you want to die, you don't spend hundreds of chapters actively preventing it. So it's either Kaido doesn't actually want to die, or the concept was never truly thought through by Oda. And this is the concept for a character.
Like, maybe usually in Shonen, it's like if a guy wants to die, he wants to die in battle like a Viking. That's what I'm thinking. I haven't reached this far, obviously, but it feels like if he wants to die, then he wants to die like a Viking, especially with a guy that's jacked. I wants to die in battle. And see.
Who becomes the backbone of a multi-year-long arc. And this was one of my main problems with Wano. You're trapped in this seemingly endless arc with a character who you couldn't care less about. And while the plot is stalling, we're also being fed the same cycle of gags endlessly for decades. How many times am I gonna have to listen to Brook wanting to see some panties? Like, at this point, just show the man some fucking underwear. This stuff happens over and over again. We get Sanji, his nose bleeding.
Man, that's Brock, right? Isn't that Brock? Brock always, every episode, Brock fell in love with some new Officer Jenny or Nurse Joy. It's just a thing that happens in Shonen. Also, I want to point out that there's one of the big differences between Shonen and Seinen is kind of how they treat this kind of thing. Where in Shonen, it's like always like the guy runs to a girl, oh, nosebleed, oh my goodness, hearts for eyes. Where Seinen, not necessarily doesn't really necessarily do that. I'm pretty like, isn't Black Lagoon seinen? It's more mature. If it is shown, it's more mature than the usual shonen anime. It's a Black Lagoon. But that one handles things a lot better. Like that one handles things a little bit more mature. Overall, I think. Because you have the main character, he goes in, he walks in, Revi is like half naked or something like that. She's in her underwear because she's been asleep. And we don't need to have the moment where he goes, oh, Nani, and noseblood or anything like that. He's like, hey, just wake up, we gotta go. And she's like, all right, fine. And we move on. So, I mean, people like that whole like anime thing about, oh, noseblood, oh, flustered, oh, hard eyes. But that's kind of a shonen thing because it kind of resonates with the young men watching it. But when it comes down to seinen, it can be handled a little bit more on a mature level. So we're like, oh yeah, just there's a girl's naked or in her underwear, but we're kind of focusing on the matter at hand as opposed to, oh, we gotta pause the story to have him react like an embarrassed idiot. I'm not saying it's bad all the time. It's kind of like it's a shonen thing. It's a shonen thing, and it makes sense. Because that's kind of how young men would feel. Absolutely. But it doesn't need to be in every story, I'll say.
The sight of a woman. So many times that Oda actually escalates this into a plot point. Sanji gets a nosebleed
Well, as long as it's a plot point.
Underwater and practically bleeds out from glancing at a mermaid. Think about how insane this
Well, then that means it's Sanji's flaw, right? It's Sanji's flaw. That he is very lustful, and that gets him into trouble. Kind of the same thing with like Master Roshi.
is. Here we are in an arc with racial tension, historical oppression, political extremism, the legacy of Fisher Tiger, and the driving plot point is...
Okay, I just saw it. Black Lagoon is in fact seinen. It's not shoujo.
Oh, Sanji is bleeding too much because he's horny. This, in my opinion, isn't comedy. I think it's just tonal sabotage. And yes...
That's really funny. He's bleeding too much because he's horny? Yeah, that's what happened. It's really funny that that's a plot point. It's like, oh, you got tooth turned on, he just bleeds out in the water. That is pretty funny.
I know that One Piece is supposed to be a goofy series. I've never had a problem with the majority of the character gags. In fact, I think some of them can be quite funny, like Zoro getting lost, for instance. I'm not saying...
It's a company says there's no Z manga. This Dragon Ball all the way through. It's supposed to end with Frieza was a myth that people believe. Toriyama wanted it to end. Old man Goku got retired. I thought it was supposed to end with Frieza. And that's what I always heard. But Dragon Ball Z was made because he was supposed to be the end of the series, I think. That's kind of what the Z was supposed to be standing for, I think.
That the series can't be goofy. But eventually, my patience with One Piece really starts to run out. Because we've gotten these gags hundreds of times, and honestly, at some point, I just consider this to be wasted narrative space. We could be using this same time to resolve some of the mysteries that Oda himself has introduced hundreds of chapters ago. Oda has introduced so many mysteries into the One Piece worlds, and all of the One Piece fans, they just eat this shit up. The resolution, it doesn't even matter. The Void Century, the Will of D, Joy Boy, the Ancient Kingdom, the Ancient Weapons, the true nature of Devil Fruits, the world government's origin, how did Blackbeard get his powers, where is Laugh-Tale located, what does Eam really look like, and of course, what is the One Piece? And instead of answering any of these inquiries, Oda chooses to do this instead.
Good question. For another time.
Instead, we get hints, teases, half sentences, and silhouettes, just more vague statements that promise answers later on. And of course, I'm not expecting all of these to be answered right away. But I mean, come on, at this point, do you think we would have some answers to this universe? Do you guys know how long it took for Oda to actually show us Dr. Vegapunk's face, after all of the years of these bullshit silhouettes and purposely obscuring his head? Hundreds of chapters, years of waiting. You guys ready for this? Was this design really worth over a decade of silhouette hype? Is there any real payoff from...
It kind of looks like a little bit like Dr. Wily's crazy brother from what's it called? Mega Man.
Seeing this, Oda seems far more interested in setting up intrigue for his series than actually paying it off. And for every mystery that gets partially answered, we get 3 new ones dropped on us. We get so much world building in this series, so much lore density, and Oda excels at this. He does a great job. I don't think Oda is a bad author. All I'm asking for is a little bit of narrative closure here, because when everything's a mystery, nothing feels meaningful. And this brings me to my next critique. Oda tries to create a fake sense of meaning through urgency. The race against finality, or the ticking clock, is one of Oda's favorite tools. One Piece does this thing that I like to call Dragon Ball time. Remember when Frieza tells Goku, "The planet will explode in 5 minutes," and then these 5 minutes proceed to turn into 20 episodes? Well, Oda does have his own version of this. And it's because so many of the arcs ended the same way, with either the Straw Hats escaping or winning, that Oda has to inject this artificial countdown so it feels as though we have some sort of urgency or stakes. Now, I'm going to be listing multiple examples of Oda using this narrative crutch, but I'm sure, just because of the sheer length and girth of One Piece, that I'm missing something here. But this aside,
The great girth of One Piece.
let's start off with Little Garden, where we have the Wax Candle of Doom. Here we have a countdown where the Straw Hats have to escape the wax before they essentially turn into statues. Then we move into Alabasta, where we have a literal countdown with the bomb about to detonate. In Skypiea, we also have a race against the clock, where Luffy has to stop.
And see, I like to say this 10 years. He forgot to mention that Vegapunk split his brain between like 7 other bodies he created. That's a crazy power to be able to do. Let's see. Let's see, Christopher Tomlinson says, if you don't understand that the One Piece is the memories of the friends you made along the way, at this point, you two are illiterate to read comics. Let's see, chat.
Anel before he completely erases the island. In Water 7, we have the Aqua Laguna, which is just looming like a natural disaster deadline. Then Enies Lobby with the Buster Call countdown before the island is completely destroyed. Thriller Bark, we have the Sunrise countdown, where Luffy needs to beat the piss out of Moria and return all the shadows before the sun rises. Marineford is pretty obvious, you have to save Ace before the execution schedule. Fisherman Island, the Noah falling, crashing into the island, we gotta stop that. Punk Hazard, we have the race against the poison gas, you gotta get to safety. Dressrosa.
He says, sorry, I meant to say Dragon Ball was supposed to end with Goku as an old man. Toriyama even drew a geezer Goku, but he started to get arthritis and got tired. One sucks. But yeah. So just going to say Dragon Ball was supposed to end with that. So I guess they want to keep going, right? Right? I guess they want to keep going with they made him keep going with Z.
The birdcage and closing all the people and killing them. Wano, Onigashima is about to crash into the capital, gotta stop it. And my personal favorite, Big Mom wanting birthday cake. Gotta get this bitch dessert before she destroys the entire island in a rampage. But my entire point, and the crux of what I'm saying here, is that urgency without risk is nothing but theater. And this is why the race against the clock doesn't work for me anymore in One Piece. This countdown exists to simulate stakes that don't even exist. Oda uses these various countdowns to give you an artificial feeling that the tensions and stakes are being raised. But more importantly, Oda uses these countdowns to truly avoid consequence, because real stakes would require real loss, and that's something that One Piece refuses to do. And this brings us to what is, in my opinion, the single most egregious, disgustingly narrative, cowardly thing that Oda does in all of One Piece. Fake out deaths. This is not a nitpick. This is not a handful of mistakes. This is a pattern that is so severe throughout One Piece, it has deprived the series of all narrative tension. There are so many fucking meaningless characters in this series, and yet Oda refuses to kill any of them out of narrative cowardice. Oda wants you to feel as though these characters are dying without ever committing to them actually being dead. Death stops meaning anything in this universe. There's a line of dialogue in the anime adaptation of One
Is that part true? People does not die in One Piece?
Piece in the Wano arc between Sanji and Chopper. I found this line to be beautifully ironic, and honestly, it acts as an allegory and like a thesis statement for the entire series of One Piece, even though this is 100% unintentional on Oda's part. Sanji saves Chopper from Queen and the Beast Pirates, okay? And he says to him, "Don't cry, you fool. How many times have we seen miracles?" And on the surface, this is meant to be comforting, a statement of hope. Maybe it's inspirational. But miracles stop being miracles when they happen constantly. They stop being extraordinary. They stop meaning anything. A miracle, by definition, is supposed to be a rupture in reality, something that should not happen but does so anyway. Yet in One Piece, miracles aren't rare interruptions. This is just the default setting of the universe. Characters survive explosions that level cities. They endure fatal wounds with no lasting consequences. They fucking die only to walk it back an arc later with a bandage and a joke. And when everything is survivable and every sacrifice is reversible, nothing is truly at stake in this universe. And that's why, reading this story for me, One Piece has quietly undermined itself the entire time. Oda.
Did One Piece kill death like Superman killed death? and the Death of Superman, remember that story? I have that story where he gets killed by Doomsday and then he comes back to life like really quick. And from then, but that was like the first time it was done. Like they wanted to kill Superman, but they brought him back to life. And now that the really big first time, they had like this death that meant kind of nothing altogether in the superhero universe. So it kind of established that death was something that superheroes can come back from. And they've been doing that to the point since then that's become kind of a trope. He died. Just wait for him to come back. Like, remember that post that was made a long time ago called like, "I'm a D tier level supervillain and accidentally killed Spider-Man" or something like that. Like it was like a funny joke thing, like a joke thread about like a supervillain, right? And he's like, I think he's like the beekeeper or something like that. He was like a low tier villain. He's like, you know what? My original plan was I wanted to go and rob banks, and then get caught, and then go to jail, do my time, and while I'm in jail, make connections with other villains. But my first outing, I went to go rob a bank, and Spider-Man comes in, and then I think I think he shoots him or something, or runs him over, and like, oh crap, he's dead. What's gonna have to be now? It's way worse than what my original plan was, because now you might have other heroes after you. You might have like the police after you now for murder. Some of his villains might hate you now because you killed the hero that they wanted to kill. Now they hate you. Kind of like when Joker thought the Batman was dead. He's like, he killed the guy who he thought killed Batman. And he's like, well, what do I do? What do I do? But one of the pieces of advice was just lay low for a bit until he comes back. Just lay low until Spider-Man comes back. It'll be fine. But you gotta lay low until then. Because he might be dead, but he'll get better. He'll be fine.
Wants us to cry. He wants us to believe that a moment is tragic, final and devastating, but then it's that same pattern over and over. No matter how bad things look, everything will be fine. Everyone will survive, and the world will reset. And that's why Sanji's line becomes the perfect metaphor for all of this. Don't cry. You've seen this before.
And Tsukabe says the Frieza fight was pretty short in the anime. In the manga, anime made it really long. Like giving it a lot of filler, like Goku and Frieza just floating around, glaring at each other, and by Goku screaming and powering up for a while, right? I'm pretty sure I remember that part.
And that's exactly right. We have seen this before so many times that death has lost its meaning. Now, I could end this segment right here. The point is already clearly made, but instead, I'm going to do something far less abstract. I'm going to go through every fake-out death that I could find in One Piece, one by one, and let's see if anyone can still seriously argue that this doesn't.
All right, let's check it out, chat. Let's check out the fake out deaths of one.
Hollow out the stakes. So to start off, we have to trace our steps back to the East Blue, where we have the Mary. No, not the ship, even though One Piece fans probably count that as a death. I'm talking about Kaya's butler, Mary. Kuro literally slashes this man open. We see the blood all over the place. We get an emotional beat, the dramatic framing. But of course he's alive. Moving on, we have Geen from Don Krieg's crew. Severely poisoned. This is treated like a death sentence, that we'll never see this character again. No, he's fine. Already, we are this early into the story, and it's telling you, don't trust what you're seeing. And then we move into the Brokeworks arc, where the explosions are basically confetti at this point. We have Mr. 9, who is blown up at point-blank range by Mr. 5. I mean, look at this man's face. He is literally eating this shit. And this scene is treated like an emotional death, with Vivi screaming as this man is essentially blown into orbit. But nope, he's alive, and
these guys aren't dead.
Speaking of other characters that survived, we have Miss Monday, who was also blown up at point-blank range. Don't worry, guys, she's completely fine. She only...
It's anime. Like, getting blown up and getting shot by bullets is not really all that big of a deal. Yeah, but no, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of I would say in the context of how it's probably done, it's like, oh my goodness, they're dead. Oh wait, they're alive! Hooray! But it does cheapen death overall. It does cheapen. It does. I would say it would probably cheapen that moment of, oh, they died. Oh, don't worry, they'll come back to life.
He took a grenade to the face, and we just see her fiery corpse, right? With Vivi screaming. But she's good. Don't worry, she's still alive. And then we have Igram, who's blown up by Robin. Like, they dropped both the little boy and the fat man on this guy. And he comes back, I shit you not. This man strolls back into the story. He saunters on in with one single Band-Aid on his face. One Band-Aid, zero explanations. You want to know how he survived? Fuck you, that's how. We don't get next.
That's some crazy hair, though. I like to say the early One Piece deaths were fake outs. So does it get better later on?
Explanation. This is genuinely Looney Tunes type shit here. And then of course we have Pell, probably the most infamous fake out death in the entire series. So Oda writes this emotional scene, essentially giving Pell an entire chapter of his own leading up to the sacrifice. And then we get the sacrifice itself. Pell carrying a bomb meant to destroy the entire country.
By the way, Chad, there's $34 more. $34 more dollars, all we need to unlock an extra stream this weekend for the remaining episodes of Amazing Digital Circus. There's $34 $4 more, chat.
Alabasta. It's heroic, emotional. We see the bomb go off, and this thing looks like a nuclear explosion. This bomb looks like something ripped straight out of the subspace emissary from Brawl. And Pell, after getting this emotional chapter leading up to his supposed death, he survives. Just somehow, don't even think about it. Just turn off your brain and accept Oda's work, okay? And it was from this point on in One Piece where death became completely optional. And then moving on, we get Mr. 2, who fittingly has 2 fake-out deaths, one at the end of Alabasta and the second at Impel Down. But his second fake-out death is especially egregious. He's literally asked by Magellan, any last words? I don't know how anybody could defend this. I mean, the phrase any last words is universal language of storytelling, meaning this character is dead, except no, of course he survives, and then he fucking survives again, and then he survives again. And then at this point in the story, I don't even believe what I'm being shown. Then we move to Skypiea, where we meet Pagaya, Konis' father, who, in my opinion, gets one of the most absurd fake-out deaths in the entire series. This guy gets an entire death scene written out for him, where he heroically pushes his daughter out of the way, taking a fatal strike from an L's lightning. It was an emotional and well-written scene. Hit me right in the heart. And at the end of the arc, Konis tells the Straw Hats about Pagaya's passing. Chopper saying, "Don't tell me." Nami looking devastated. Konis on the brink of tears. Sanji looking distraught. Luffy's upset. But just then, Pagaya returns from the great beyond for Oda to break the fourth wall and for Pagaya to apologize.
Let's see. Alex said that this too is a Pell fake-out death did make a lot of people angry, you mean? I could see that. So yeah, a lot of fake out deaths will kind of degrade the whole thing. It will kind of degrade the impact of death scenes are because like, oh, you know, he'll probably just come back. He's probably fine. He'll come back in like another 400 chapters. It does degrade it. So I can see where his point is on this one, definitely. Palace Diana thinks of the 5 because I understand the annoyance of fake out deaths, but it gets to the point where the complaining about it is yeah, I think it's kind of the nature a little bit, but I mean, a series as long running as One Piece, it might have a lot, and it might have too much. I'm not really sure. What do you think, chat? Is it too much? Because I could see the annoyance of so many deaths being like dramatic, heavy, weightful. Just dramatically heavy and everything, and then boom, it's actually not real. Actually, they're back alive. Oh, so all that emotional turmoil I felt about their deaths, not real. All that worthy, that they're actually alive. Okay, all right, and then they die again. Like actually, they're alive again. It's fine. Don't worry about it, guy. Let's see. All right. Let me see here. Get this ready to go, chat. We are now just $27 away from Pillarman and finally unlocking the rest of the episodes of Amazing Digital Circus.
For still being alive.
You can't keep getting away with it! He can't keep getting away with it!
I mean, this is Oda admitting he knows how ridiculous this is. And the sad thing is, this isn't even the only fake-out death in Skypiea. We get to see Bellamy about to be executed with his neck literally on the chopping block, but of course he shows up later. He's completely fine, so don't worry about it. And then we move on to Jaguar D. Saul. This is going to be controversial for you.
Who is this guy? This guy... This is interesting. It's a bad guy. Who is this?
You guys, because I know there are going to be some One Piece clowns that defend this. This is emotional manipulation without payoff. This is one of the most emotionally dishonest fake-out deaths in the entire
One Piece clown. I thought I was aggressive in my videos. Just calling everyone clowns.
series. Oda milks the hell out of this scene.
I guess technically speaking, if you are a One Piece fan, being called a clown isn't that big of an insult because you do have Buggy, who is actually pretty awesome. I like to 10 cheers is Pell's made a lot of people mad, but Oda does have actual people actually die now. Also, I accidentally clicked the send button before I finished typing the last super chat. Oh, there we go. There you go. A lot of people die. That's what I thought.
Pages and pages. Robin crying. Saul telling her, "You have to live, Robin." I mean,
You must live. No man, thanks for the $5 super chat. Thank you much. Appreciate it. Yes. Norman says the fake out deaths did make some deaths hit harder when they did happen, though. Oh, okay, because we might think that he's coming back and that he doesn't. Oh, he's actually gone now. I guess technically speaking, you could see that happening. Or you do have a tinge of hope, and that hope is crushed, and it kind of adds to the misery of the actual death. Let's see here. Call of Duty says, a lot of important characters died in One Piece. I think this guy is just mad that the non-important goofy characters are surviving. I guess it's possible. I mean, it's kind of the same reason why Puck survives and Berserk, because you kind of need some levity every once in a while. A Golden Reaper looks at the 5. Now, Super Chat says Luffy's secret brother. Oh, yeah, he has the secret brother that looks closely to Ace is just a masked version of a fake out death. Really? I do know he has a brother. I didn't know there's like a fake out death involved. Thank you much, Golden Reaper. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
This is framed as a complete character death and foundational trauma for Robin. Except, fast forward hundreds of chapters later, Saul is alive. And I know some of you One Piece fans are going to try some retroactive justification talking about how Robin lost Professor Clover and her mother, so therefore it's completely fine.
Was that the guy's hair? Looks wild.
Because she still has a traumatic backstory, and that Oda actually wrote himself a way out with this because of the Ice Time Capsule attack, even though in reality, Aokiji froze Saul with the attack Ice Time.
Hold on, run that back.
Has a traumatic backstory, and that Oda actually wrote himself a way out with this.
He's Canadian.
Because of the Ice Time Capsule attack, even though in reality, Aokiji froze Saul with the attack Ice Time. But no, you don't get to do this. I mean, if you want death to matter in your universe, you don't take it back after you milk this shit for tears. Once again, this comes off as Oda trying to emotionally manipulate the audience without any real stakes being involved. Then we move on to Spondum. His spine is snapped, completely broken asunder, and
This guy looks awesome.
simply put, this man should be dead, but he's not. Why? Oh, because nobody dies in One Piece, that's why. Then we move on to Thriller Bark, where we get Dr. Hogback, who is crushed by ores, a giant weighing hundreds of tons. He lives. Why? I don't know, because Oda refuses to commit to anything. And this is why I say death does not exist in this universe. We have characters with essentially zero narrative importance, and Oda makes these guys immortal. This character, Lakuba, that's right, he has a name. The pirate at the auction house who bites off his own tongue. It's horrific. It's shocking. And yet he's still alive. Like, Oda won't even kill the characters that
He's in the background now. His tongue is missing.
don't matter. This shit is terrible. And then we move to Fishman Island, okay? We get Vanderdecken, impaled by a trident. He's alive. Then we get Mocha, okay? She is a
I mean, it's not a death blow necessarily. Got kind of hit in the stomach. I probably survived that a little bit.
child who is subjected
A little bit. All right, it's a here. This man literally is yapping right now. I wish I knew the context of this. I just haven't made it this far. It's too much. It's Erasmus 7 says, dude tries so hard to sound more smarter than he appears. It's the Alex, you have the 10 cheers. By the way, several of the fake out deaths, the murders, were people who betray the people they work with. I remember like the cat one, right? The cat pirate guy. Just kills that guy by the betrayal, kills that the sheep butler.
to human experimentation, eats a fuck ton of poisonous candy. It's treated like a tragedy, and then of course, she's fine. She's fine. Brownbeard, this
Wait, she's alive. She survives this. Hey, pretty hardcore. Is this the editor doing? Is like because this is for kids or whatever, or is for a younger audience. We can't really have all these deaths occurring. Is that what's going on? Is that like, okay, we can't really have them actually die? They say they got better. It'll be fine.
special snowflake gets 2 fake out deaths. Also a side note, you know the fake out deaths are getting bad when even minor characters, fucking nothing burger characters like this, have multiple fake out deaths, only to later show up completely fine. Then we get to Whole Cake Island where we meet Charlotte Moscato, one of Big Mom's numerous kids that she's pumped out over the years. This man should be dead, flat out. Big Mom rips this man's soul out of his body, and we are told in the manga that he's dead. And this is framed as cruel, final, and irreversible. But then he's just fine. And of course, we get no explanation. I mean, this
is true. This would be kind of annoying. The whole thing is, oh no, he's dead. Actually, he's fine. Let's see. Doflamingo says Maka was saved by Law's devil fruit, was specifically made to do miraculous surgeries. Okay, that is a factor though. Healing, like this devil fruit factors or whatever. Like there's some interesting abilities in here that could possibly save people's lives.
no lasting consequence, no visible damage, no narrative cost. I mean, this fuck just shows up and he's watching Vegapunk's broadcast casually. And as if this wasn't enough, there's also Charlotte Opera, and the less said about his character design, the better. But this character also has his soul drained by Big Mom, and we can't confirm 100% that he is alive, and we can't classify this 100% as a fake out death, but I would bet you everything that I have in my bank account, which, to be fair, isn't that much, but I would still bet it that this man is alive. And then we get to the champion of fake out deaths, Peckhams. This man deserves his own category as the king of fakeouts. He doesn't die just once, nor twice, but thrice. Shot repeatedly by Beiji. Completely fine. The second time, this man is shot again by Beiji, this time at point-blank range, off of a cliff, into the ocean as a devil fruit user. Still alive. The third and final time we see this guy, he's turned into a literal pincushion. And let's be honest, he's still alive. Until I see a corpse, a grave, and a funeral, I'm assuming he's alive. Now, I want to talk about Pound, because this fake-out death isn't annoying, it's just genuinely insulting at this point. Pound's entire character revolves around one thing. Him never getting to love his own daughters. Never got to hold them, never raised them, never got to be a part of their lives. And so, of course, Oda tries to milk Pound like a cow, and in his final moments, he has...
Auntie Alex Halo Cheer says he's complaining about people not dying when Chopper or other doctors are nearby. Also, yeah, some of them were doctors. I forgot about that too. It's like this, I don't think it's this clear cut and dry as they just come back. It's a fake out death. It's like, okay, well, yeah, there's horrific things that happen, but can they be saved by one of the healers? It's also Big Mom just stole his most of his lifespan, not his soul. So I guess he would still be alive then, technically speaking. He says the guy is going to be surprised about the crazy shit real people survive from. You ever hear about the guy? I think what his main problem is that it's the way it's framed, right? I think it's the way it's framed. It's like, oh, it's framed as this guy's definitely dead, and here's the drama and everything. Then they survive. It's, oh, he's not dead actually. Which I guess maybe it wasn't supposed to be death. It was supposed to be like Oda kind of telling you that, oh my goodness, this guy is down for the count. This guy has experienced enough trauma, physical trauma, to be out of the fight. Or something like that. Maybe, trying to be as generous as possible.
Pound congratulates Chiffon on her wedding, and Pound accepts that his love will never be returned by his own daughter because she never truly knew him. And this is
I think this is the main issue here is that Big says dude's right about the fake out deaths. They're annoying, but he's such a dick about it. That might be the main issue, actually. But anyway, chat. Speaking of being a dick, we have just $18 away, Chad. $18 away from Pillarman, and the finishing of Amazing Digital Circus. Just $18 away. So close, yet so far away.
It's framed as a tragedy. It's framed as final. We have Oven in the background like the Grim Reaper raising his blade to Pound's head. But then Pound is alive. Like, this shit is ridiculous. It is emotional fraud. You don't get to build this entire tragedy around irreversible loss, milk these fucking tears, and then undo it without any consequence or care. And my question to the One Piece fans, when Oda pulls shit like this, why should I trust any emotional moment in this story? These fake-out deaths are so corrosive that they don't just cheapen death, they cheapen the overall emotion that I feel when I'm supposed to be reading or watching this story. I hate this fake-out death so much because it's not just simply a fake-out death, it's a fake tragedy.
And see, Alex Halo the Tincture is also the lion guy, has a turtle devil fruit, and his back has a strong shell, and everyone keeps shooting that instead of his head. Oh yeah, well, I mean, you can't kill the guy by shooting his turtle shell. That's ridiculous.
Unites with Lola and Chiffon. Yay, all's well that ends well. Happy, 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 fuck you. And then we move on to Wano, and at this point, this stops being a character problem, and it just becomes a world problem. Like, nobody dies in this universe. Because in One Piece, not even the animals are allowed to die. In Wano, we see Kozuki Oden slice this massive boar cleanly in half. It's a moment of shock and a display of Odin's strength. And of course, you guys know where I'm going with this. The pig is completely fine. He comes back. He's rocking a couple stitches on him, looking like a football. You know what, Oda? I'll give you a get-out-of-jail-free card with this one because it's funny, but I mean, this is still ridiculous all the same. But this aside, Wano abuses even more fake-out deaths. Warden Babanuki literally explodes himself from the inside out. He uses the self-destruct...
The Golden Reaper looks at the 5, but I think much Golden Reaper says, I think the people complaining about are just One Piece shills and very biased because of how popular it is. I'm not much of a fan, so I agree. Yeah, I'm not really a One Piece fan, typically speaking. I don't hate it or anything. It's just I'm not really that. I never really got that into it. So going from that perspective, I can see where I may have disagreed with him with the whole thing about we need a different, like a brand spanking new story every single time, and that the whole we arrive at a new island story structure, or type, I guess, is wrong. I don't think that's wrong. Going by the way they did it, that way that Oda did it, I think he did it correctly. Where okay, it's a new island, new predicament, but all the creativity is being allocated towards making that island feel unique and having a new bad guy, having some new characters, things like that. So I think I disagree with on that part. But fake out deaths. A lot of these fake, like a bunch of fake out deaths, it would in blanket statement here, blanket thing is that yeah, a bunch of fake out deaths will cheapen death overall. It usually will, unless handled correctly. But still, even if it's handled correctly, you don't really want to bring in a bunch of fake out deaths. Now, that being said, given the length of the One Piece storyline, he's like grouping a bunch of these fake out deaths together. I feel like a lot of these fake out deaths are kind of spread out across many chapters and many years. I think so. I kind of what it feels like. I don't know. You can tell me in the chat. But it feels like they're not just like one after another. It feels more like they're kind of paced out. Where okay, we haven't. A fake out death kind of is a surprise because it hasn't happened in a while or something like that. Let's see here. Here we go.
Rock attack, and he's completely fine afterwards. Kinemon gets multiple fake out deaths. He's impaled. He's beaten by Kaido. Oda fake kills this man again and again and again, and he's always fine. At a certain point, like, you just stop reacting. You just watch the shit, and you're like, I don't even.
But then again, if Oda started killing more characters after a while, maybe even Oda thought this was a problem. I don't know.
Even care. Orochi also got multiple fake out deaths, with him being decapitated and burned. Both times, he's just fine. And in addition to Orochi, Kandra also got a fake out death, just because why not? Now let's talk about Dr. Vegapunk. And yes, I know you guys are going to be screaming in the comments section. Vegapunk was technically killed, okay? Kizaru put this man down. His body dies. Yeah, but here's the problem, guys. Vegapunk still isn't gone, because all the satellites still survive. His consciousness is backed up into punk records. His knowledge, the thing that defines him, still exists. His mind lives on, even though his body was destroyed. And let's be honest, guys, Oda is 100% going to be putting Vegapunk's consciousness back into a body later on. So I'm going to ask you guys what actually died here then, because it sure as fuck isn't the character. It's not his influence on the One Piece series. So we are left with zero consequences once again. But don't worry, guys, Dr. Vegapunk will be revived soon. But until then, you can enjoy Dr. Vegapants, a literal carbon copy of Dr. Vegapunk, except he wears panties on his head. Hilarious. Earlier, One Piece faked deaths by saying, well, actually, they survived. And now, in the modern day of One Piece, we are still faking deaths by saying, but they died, but actually their mind lives on. It's a different method, but the same narrative cowardice. Oda always wants the emotional weight of death, while always giving himself an out. But after this many fake out deaths, my problem isn't who survived the story. It's that One Piece has taught me to not believe it when someone dies. One Piece has lost my trust. Every emotional moment in this story becomes nothing more than a sad performance rather than anything of lasting consequence. So at this point you may be wondering, okay Shane, well who actually does die in One Piece? Well, I'm going to break it to you. The majority of deaths in this series occur in flashbacks. Flashbacks are where Oda is the most comfortable killing off his characters. Now almost...
It's the Alex the other 10 shares is Orochi Devil Fruit gives him multiple lives. Is that what happens? That's a pretty cool Devil Fruit to have. It can like the re-zero fruit. They have nothing repeats, I guess.
Almost every character of importance in this series is required to have a tragic flashback, and almost every tragic flashback requires that someone has to die. You want to talk about being formulaic? This pattern is impossible to ignore, and it applies to every single person in the Straw Hats. Let's start off with Nami. Her mother figure, Belmir, is executed by Arlong. For Zoro, we get the death of Kuina, and this occurs very abruptly, but this flashback defines his entire motivation to become the world's strongest swordsman. Sanji, his mother Sora dies in a flashback, and her death exists solely to explain why Sanji is different from the rest of his Germa siblings. Chopper, we get a flashback with Dr. Heerluck. And I mean, this death is so iconic in the series that this is basically Chopper's entire character. Usopp's mother, Banshina, passes away when he's young, and his father, Yasopp, essentially abandons him so he can carry out his pirate journey. Frankie, we have, of course, Fishman Tom, who is executed in a flashback. I mean, again, this is allegedly, because we don't even see the death, so I'm going to assume he's alive. Robin, we have O'Hara being wiped out, we get Dr. Clover being killed, her mother is killed, and then Jaguar D. Sol dies. Of course, until he doesn't. Brooke lost his entire crew in a flashback. Jinbei lost Fisher Tiger. I mean, right there alone, I have already encompassed every single Straw Hat having a tragic backstory with one person dying at a minimum. And this isn't even touching upon the plethora of other One Piece characters that have somebody important to them die in a flashback. Every single one of these deaths always happen before the story starts or safely outside of the present timeline. Now let me be clear, I'm not saying that all flashback deaths are bad. I think they can be powerful, I think they can be effective, they can add depth to characters. But with this said, when every character goes...
Let's see. Abergione says, I was away. How long is video? Oh, it's just because like we've been discussing it a lot. I think we've gone through 37 minutes out of 47. It's been quite a bit. And see chat. Del Flamingo says, being a kid is your formative years, so deaths are obviously the most traumatic. Yeah, definitely are. And to me, it kind of like all these fake outs kind of feel like this is the hand of the editor coming in, given that this is supposed to be like for younger kids or younger people. Like we wanted to set this up for drama. We got the drama. Okay, now bring them back so it won't be too bad. That sort of thing. That's what it feels like. It kind of feels like this is the hand of the editor coming in to say, we got to, just bring them back. They don't really have a lot of impact on the story. Just bring them back so that we don't really traumatize the kids too much.
Through some version of the same emotional blueprint, this shit stops feeling organic. And each time the flashback begins, I'm no longer wondering what's going to happen. I'm just waiting to see who's eventually going to die. And once you've seen enough of this stuff, I mean, my emotional response just gets worn down to a nub. It becomes fucking dulled, okay? And it's not because the themes aren't serious. I've said this before. These are serious themes, and One Piece handles them maturely, but it's because the delivery is so damn predictable. You know the beats, you know the pacing, you know there's going to be some sort of loss in these flashbacks, and this tragedy has become routine. It stops hitting. And these flashbacks don't just dilute death in One Piece. I mean, they can destroy the pacing, which I already touched upon earlier, but this is especially true during fights. I mean, if you look at Sanji versus Queen, for example, we're in the middle of a high-stakes fight, and then suddenly we need to stop everything because maybe Sanji hit a woman? As if Oda was actually going to turn Sanji into a woman.
What? Sanji might be a racist, but he can't be a misogynist too. That's Sanji's job. It's Ben Parker says, sorry, Latev. Had to break the special number on the like counter of 69. Much Ben Parker. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Wife beater, be serious. Come on now.
Oh, by the way, we are just $13 away from Pillarman and the Amazing Digital Circus. Finishing up Amazing Digital Circus chat. Just $13 away, getting pretty close.
And then we cut to more flashbacks with drama with the Germa family, flashback to Zeph, Sanji's childhood suffering, moral panic, and I shit you not, in the middle of this allegedly high-stakes fight, we have time to give the mouse a flashback. After a fight with the Yonko commander, we really needed to have a...
But the mouse has a flashback. That's a kind of funny concept. Like, why does the mouse need a flashback?
Flashback with Sanji reminiscing about how he used to cook for the fucking Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. And this is supposed to be emotional depth. This is nothing more than narrative interruption. I'm sorry to break the...
Hey, son, is this like a Ratatouille situation going on?
As to you, Oda, I do not care about this mouse. I could wipe my ass with this thing. This thing just continues to interrupt the fight. The fight needs to stop every 5 seconds so the story can reassure all of the readers that Sanji is still Sanji. Instead of letting the fight actually play out, Oda feels the need to hit the brakes every 5 seconds, rewind, and explain the character to us again. These flashbacks are not being used to enhance the story in any meaningful way. It's nothing more than a crutch.
And see, Golden Reaper, this additional 5, and Super Chat says, the younger kids is no excuse. They have constant younger women and drag queens, and drug use. The kid sensitivity doesn't work. No, I mean, that might be less of an issue with the Japanese than the whole death thing. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not really sure. But I don't know. I mean, is it hand of the editor, or is it Oda's mistake to have so many? Although again, yes, there's a lot of fake out deaths will be harmful, but are they spread out, and how well are they spread out throughout the story? And see, Dr. Flamingo says he also seems to be hopping between the anime and the manga to criticize it. Yeah, that's also true. Instead of just remaining with the anime or just remaining with the manga, I guess they wanted to compare the two. Would absolutely be broken about. Probably. Actually, is it? He's more like the positive misogynist, where he just obsesses over women. Kind of like Brock does. He's like more on that side instead of hating them.
And when you need to stop the fight 5 times over to re-justify a character we already understand, it becomes ridiculous. And at this point, you're probably all saying, okay, Shane, we get it. Fake out deaths suck. Flashback deaths are formulaic. But surely some people die in the current storyline of One Piece, right? And yes, they do. But here's the catch. When these characters do die in the present, they're either 1, completely insignificant, or 2, emotionally disposable. And this brings us to the present-day deaths within the series, starting off with Higema, a mountain bandit from the first couple chapters of One Piece. This character was completely insignificant. He was taken out by the Lord of the Coast within the first couple chapters of One Piece. And I think it's fair to say that nobody gives a fuck about him. And then we have Mr. 11, who we know literally nothing about except for the fact that 1, he's dead, and 2, he worked for Baroque Works at some point. So, great start to the list here. Then we get Ashura Doji. Yeah, this character fucking sucks, man. Like, I was watching the...
Who's this guy? He's pink hair.
The Wano arc, and I genuinely...
I can't wait for the live action to make this guy into reality. That'd be really funny.
I had to ask myself, am I really watching One Piece or is this my 600-pound life? This man is not raiding Onigashima. This man is raiding the fucking ice cream truck. Oda wants me to feel the emotional weight of Ashura Doji's death, but the only weight I'm feeling is strictly gravitational from his fat ass. Ashura Doji's introduced, and he's around like just long enough for you to remember his fucking name. I mean, he just shows up, he grunts, he drinks, he's sad about Odin, and then he dies. And in the story, it's like, oh, well, somebody died, so you have to be emotional. No, the emotion has to be earned, and Ashura Doji never earned the shit. I think the majority of the scabbards become interchangeable as the Wano arc starts to progress further, but I would bet you that he's nobody's favorite scabbard. Ashura's my favorite scabbard, Shane. Shut up, no he's not. Ashura Doji dies from an explosion, which is definitely surprising because we've seen so many characters survive these before. Speaking of the scabbards, we have Izo, who dies from only a few finger pistol attacks from the CP0 agents. These deaths mean nothing. They add nothing to the overall plot. They don't change the story whatsoever. It's a shame these characters don't have the durability of, say, Igrim, Pell, or maybe even fucking Pagaya, because then they'd probably be alive. No, but seriously, to the One Piece fans here, like, try to explain this shit. Try to justify how Igrim, a fucking nobody, could survive an island-sized explosion. Meanwhile, Izo, one of the former commanders of the Whitebeard Pirates, gets taken out by a couple finger
It's a laser gun? That's pretty awesome.
pistol attacks. Logically, this makes sense. Maybe if you're getting
She kind of reminds me of Lady Eboshi. I don't know who this character is, but she kind of reminds you a little bit of Lady Eboshi from Princess Mononoke. A little bit. If Lady Eboshi, of course, had a laser gun.
hit in the head with Usopp's 10-ton hammer. And this is where the writing becomes inconsistent, because you have a Yonko division commander like Izo dying to a few finger pistols, but then you'll have other characters like Eustace Kid just getting obliterated by Shanks, a nuclear warhead being dropped on him, and I don't even blink. One Piece has made death so arbitrary that I no longer trust it even when the story asks me to. But this aside, we have other characters that die, like Monet, the bird woman from Punk Hazard, and, you know, let's be honest, why would I care about this big bird-looking bitch? Then we have Pedro. Oh, wait, no, that's not Pedro, that's Absalom. He's the invisible sex pervert. He died.
Gotta narrow that down a little bit. It's Symbiote, this is the $10 super chat. Thank you very much, Symbiote. Very generous indeed. And comic books are also allergic to permanent deaths. So maybe that's why we're all like a lot of people are inoculated to it. If you're a superhero fan in America, you're probably inoculated to deaths because they're really never permanent. They usually at one point reversed at some point in time. Like usually. Also, Pillarman, thank you much. Symbiote, absolutely. When we get to stream memes, we have now unlocked the Pillarman chat, and with Symbiote's generous donation at the end here, we have also guaranteed more amazing digital circus until the end, chat, until the end, including when the last episode comes out in June or July, something like that. I think I might actually go see it in theaters if they have it. I might actually go see. I don't know if I'm not sure about that actually. Do I really want to go to theater where the fan base might show up? I'm not sure if I want to risk that.
Why the fuck would I care about him? Then we do get to Pedro's death, and Pedro explodes himself, accomplishing essentially nothing except for trying to free the Sunny. And this is a character that in real time the Straw Hats met about only a week ago. And then we get this emotional camera pan with all of the Straw Hats reacting to Pedro's death. But I mean, as for me, guys, I'm sorry. Like, we barely knew anything about this character.
Well, they really be the last. That's what they said. It said it was supposed to be like the last episode, and so it's going to be wrapping everything up. It's going to be in theaters. It might lead into a season 2 or something. I don't know, but as far as I see in the advertisements, it seems to be the last episode. It's going to wrap everything up.
He comes in, he fucking Chaosu's himself, and that's it. But moving on, we do get the deaths of both Kanjuro and Orochi towards the tail end of the Wano arc, but because these characters were both given multiple fake-out deaths, it really took the wind out of my sail. So inevitably, when these characters did die, I wasn't even sure if it was finalized or not, or if it was just another fake-out death. But moving on, we do get Saturn's death, and you would think this one would matter because he's one of the Gorosei, one of the highest authorities alive in the entire One Piece series. But emotionally, I mean, who the fuck cares? We spend thousands of chapters with this guy, watching him sit around. We don't know him. He's never humanized or explored in any meaningful way. So when you put his death in a series that has trained me over and over again not to trust death when it happens, I don't feel any sense of shock. I don't get catharsis out of watching him die. I don't feel any loss. I don't feel relief. I just...
Saturn, why did you allow Joy Boy to escape? Joy Boy. That's one hell of a name. Joy Boy.
Move on. But I want to be very clear about something. I do think there are deaths in One Piece, in the current storyline, outside of flashbacks, that do work, and I want to give Oda credit for this. For example, Yasui's death in Wano, I would consider this to be a good death. It's public, it's humiliating, it's deliberate, he goes out protecting others. And this death has meaning. I just wish we had more time with this character so I could appreciate him more. But this death reinforces themes throughout the entire arc of Wano. It leaves a scar in the reader.
It's like nightmare fuel. It's kind of his face feels like a YouTube poop video. Like, what the hell is this?
The only problem here is it's isolated, and once again, we don't get a ton of time with this character. Speaking of good deaths, Whitebeard. Whitebeard's death is incredible. I think it's one of the best
Whitebeard does die, right? I do know this one.
Scenes in One Piece. This man dies standing on his feet. An Emperor of the Sea falls. I mean, this moment matters. You can feel it. The world of One Piece changes because of his death. And Oda deserves credit for this. And now to talk about the death that I'm sure you guys have been screaming about in the comments section the entire time. Ace's death. I think this also works. I'll say this, I did find it frustrating for Ace to turn around just because Akainu is trash-talking Whitebeard, especially when you consider that Luffy, Whitebeard, and so many of these crews from the New World are risking everything to save him. So in my opinion, Ace fucks up here, and this mistake actually has consequences because Ace dies. The story doesn't undo it, and it's not a fake-out death. Ace's death breaks Luffy. He's already separated from his crew, and I would honestly say the tone of the series starts to shift a little bit. And for once, it seems as though One Piece is going to allow this loss to be real. And then Oda panics, because Sabo was introduced a few chapters later, right after Ace's death. And I know there are going to be some Sabo defenders in the comments section. You guys can cry about the third Sake Cup and tell me that the S on Ace's arm always stood for Sabo. I mean, maybe that's true, but let's be honest, the S could have stood for anything. It could have been symbolic, it could have just been a design quirk, but if you guys really want to ride Oda's nutsack and tell me that Sabo was foreshadowed from chapter 1, you go ahead and do that.
Was he foreshadowed from chapter 1? Or is that a lie? I just ride in Oda's nutsack. Which one is it, chat? Vote now.
In Alabasta, there was no definitive proof that Sabo was ever a fully realized character. My problem...
See, the flamingo says Oda went through great pains to make sure, to make Saturn one of the greatest pieces of shit in One Piece, so that you'd feel catharsis when he died. That's kind of usually how you want to treat a villain, right? It's the same thing with Shishio from Rurouni Kenshin. Like, that guy was cool. Like, he was a cool villain, but you kind of felt relief. You kind of felt like catharsis when he was actually finally defeated, because he just was such a nefarious, devious mastermind, as well as a nigh invincible villain.
With Sabo is introducing a magical third brother 10 chapters after the most devastating death in the series. This is not organic. In my opinion, Sabo's appearance in One Piece has always been reactive. He's always felt like a replacement for Ace, and let's be real, functionally he is. He has the same role, the cool older brother. He serves the same emotional function for Luffy. He eats the same devil fruit as Ace, the Marimara no Mi, because of course he has. You dye this man's blonde hair black, and he's Ace 2.0. And the amnesia, oh my god, this is complete bullshit. I'm gonna borrow a quote from my boy Corcus and just say, this is a load of crap straight out of the horse's ass. It's a narrative contrivance to explain why a character never existed, until the story needed him to, of course. Sabo forgot everything, up until the exact moment Ace dies, of course, and then he suddenly remembers.
You're nothing to me now.
It kind of reminds me of, has anyone seen Beer Fest? Or it's like, Landfill, the kid to Landfill, dies by drowning in a big vat of beer, and then at the funeral we had a emotional funeral. Everyone's like giving their last words about Landfill, and then walks in Landfill's twin brother from Texas, I guess, and is played by the same exact actor as Landfill, but not only is he just like Landfill, pretty much just steps in to fill that role. He's also better at everything the Landfill was, and even Landfill's wife starts sleeping with him and stuff. So basically, just walks into Landfill's life, takes complete over. That's what it feels like. Alex Haley 10 Cheers says, it was foreshadowed, but he was supposed to stay dead, but Oda changed his mind. Oh, so he's like, I had a brother or something like that once, and you know what? He's alive now. I see that happening.
You're not a brother. You're not a friend. I don't want to know you or what you do.
This isn't character writing. I mean, this is just pure convenience. And then, of course, Sabo comes back. He's not broken. He's immediately admiral level. He's fighting Fujitora. He's a top agent of the Revolutionary Army, working directly under Dragon, Luffy's father. Because, of course, everybody has to be connected. Sabo isn't a rediscovered character. He's practically installed into One Piece like some weird patchwork DLC bullshit. Sabo's existence alone really just breaks One Piece for me, because I really felt like Ace's death mattered only because it was final. And then Sabo just comes along and kind of makes him replaceable, both emotionally, thematically, mechanically. If a death can just be swapped out and replaced, then it isn't really a loss. And Ace's death kind of proved that One Piece might have been able to tell a story about consequence, but through the existence of Sabo, it just kind of shows me.
I mean, if the death still has consequences, right, and the new character is very much his own character, I think it still counts.
That Oda really wasn't able to go through with it in the end. And this is my problem with One Piece. It's not the world building, it's never been about the artwork, and not the ambition of the series. It's that nothing is ever allowed to be final. After hundreds of chapters, your boy is abandoning ship. I am jumping off of the sunny. For me right now, One Piece has stopped feeling like a story. It really has become nothing more than a system of formulaic arcs, padded pacing, artificial urgency, fake stakes, reversible death, and characters frozen in place. To be very clear, I don't hate One Piece. I'm walking away from One Piece, not out of anger, but I'm dropping this because I realized I was watching the same story on an endless loop. But if you guys liked the video, I would appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. Otherwise, I'm going to give you guys a 10-minute flashback explaining why you should have. All jokes aside, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, take care, and I'll see you with a new Berserk video soon.
A new Berserk video. All right, chat, putting in the chat here. What do you think? One Piece video. Let's see. One Piece video. Insightful or cringe? There we go, chat. About to put in the poll here. Or cringe. There we go. Polls up, chat. Polls up. Here we go. What do you think, chat? Vote now, America. Vote now. We'll see how that goes. All right, chat. Oh, that was interesting, we'll say. It was pretty interesting. I'm not sure we had too much time for another one. Might save some more for another day. But anyway, chat, let's see here. What did you have to say? I don't hate Oda. I don't hate One Piece. X fucking down. I mean, there was like some pretty interesting moments in there. Like, oh, you're all clowns. Just like, man, I thought that was aggressive. Let's see. Golden Reaper, this is the 5. But I'll super chat. Thank you much. Appreciate it. It says Sabo is literally Ace's replacement. He even takes Ace's power, does he? So he's kind of a stand-in. He just steps into the role. It's like, is it a landfill 2 situation? The Wolf Spade, the should have put both and neither in the poll. Maybe. But I guess now we got to make the definitive decision this time around. But next time, maybe next time around, both, neither. Pretty good additions, I think. All right. Let's see. I'm going to update this even more. Fantastic. Thank you much, everyone, for your generosity. Awesome. We'll take a look at the poll by the end of the stream. But for now, we're going to go ahead and switch over to stream memes. Chat, streaming memes. All right, chat. All right. Well, because we reached Pillarmen once again. Here we go, chat. Here we go. Pillarmen. And we got to hit for tomorrow, because if we do hit Pillarmen tomorrow, even though we already unlocked Mason Digital Circus, we will have another stream. If we all we got to do is reach Pillarmen tomorrow, and boom, we'll have another stream ready to go. And you can pick it, chat. You can pick the topic of the stream, and we'll see where that leads us. But, within reason. Within reason. But anyway, chat, I reached Pillarmen for a day. So, loud clip incoming, chat. Loud clip incoming. So, lower your volume or raise your volume, whatever you prefer. And Pillarmen. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, best chat. Hello to you, everyone. Thank you very much for your generosity, chat. But now here we are with stream memes. Here we go. 416. Let's see. Today belongs to me, 416. So it's my day today as well, right? Fuck off. Every month too. Let's see. What is this? Just a reminder that most H.P. Lovecraft stories are set in near Massachusetts. Therefore, you should be giving all of the characters Bostonian accents. Oh my God! It's Eldritch. It's an Eldritch horror from beyond the stars. Peter. Will you? We're young. You're free. Why don't you marry me? It is if this doesn't bother you, but this does bother you, you're very based. I have to tend to agree. I will sign no treaty, Senator. My fate will be no different from that of our people. You want all of Naboo to die of sadness? What a horrible thing to wish for. What a womanly way to die, too. Just die of sadness. Very nice, George. Very based. Very, very incredibly based. Let's see. All right, here we go, chat. What's next? Wedding night. Yeah, it's Ursula, and then he's into it. Oh, even better. Boss target. I don't know you. Boom. Oh. Batman and Robin. Punch it out. What's this? Woman Rider. We don't need devil fruits. I don't need no weapon. This guy is awesome. This guy is really cool. I like this guy, actually. Isn't that Nosferatu Zod? Is that him? That's him, right? Good grief, he's naked. And what's this? He's made of rubber. How did that even happen? Yo ho, took a bite of gum. Even though as a skeleton, I don't have a face. Just a skull joke. Stop it. He's already dead. Help me, they're gonna kill me. Wait, I'm already dead. What time skip did to Nami? What time skip did to Brooke? Would you let me see your panties? Would you let me see your panties? It looks way more elegant in the live action, actually. Smoking kills, but I'm already dead. Yo ho ho. It's like he takes some of that Yoda weed on him. Turns out, what's this? No. What's happening here? Listen, my hands are for cooking only. Yeah, but you're punching that guy. If you're punching Zorro. I mean, it's very. He probably was cooking there. Zorro with bounty of 320 million belly. You think you're better than me? Sanji with a bounty of 330 million belly. I'm better than you. What's this? Before, after Sanji's plastic surgery. The hell? What's this? Ryuma, Zoro, Luffy, Sanji. I really hope something like this happens during the climactic finale of One Piece, but I doubt it will. I never thought I'd die fighting side by side with a red-haired buffoon. What about fighting side by side with a friend? I could do that. You're not wrong. You're just an asshole. Haters gonna hate. Is that One Piece character dead? Nope. Chuck's Testa. All right, chat. All right, we're going to end the stream for today. In which everyone joining me, thank you much, best chat, for always being the best chat of your wonderful rest of your day. See you again, of course, next time.
On a cold winter morning in the time before the light, in flames of death's eternal reign, we ride towards the fight. When the darkness has fallen down and the times are tough, alright, the sound of evil laughter falls around the world tonight. Couldn't keep it in, although heaven knows I tried.